on, everybody? Welcome back to a new and exciting episode of the Viall Files Reality Recap Edition. I'm your host, Nick, joined by the household. Genevieve, Amanda, Allie, and Derek are all with us in studio. Our pop culture correspondent, Allie Joy, is in Savannah, Georgia, planning a wedding that we're a part of.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
a part of. The stars of?
Yeah. A part of.
Yeah,
Part of.
yeah.
Involved with. So
Yeah.
we went to a lovely wedding. Our friends Matt King and Patricia. Now it's now Matt and Patricia King now.
Yeah.
Lovely wedding in Birmingham, Alabama. Have you ever been? Oh, and our special guest today,
Oops.
Emily Longeretta. Did I get?
You got it right.
I got it
You
wrong.
got it right.
I always panic when I have there's a meaty last name, even though it's
No, I do the same thing, but I'm always like, it's exactly how it looks. So you're all good.
Emily, friend of show, is also with Variety Magazine. I know you were expecting Elizabeth because we all told you about it.
I know.
Elizabeth couldn't be with us today, but Emily graciously and like a hero stepped in.
I did. There is no replacement for Elizabeth, but she's getting married in like 5 days. So, she's
Is
a
her
little
wedding in
busy.
5 days?
It's this weekend.
Damn.
We're heading to Cabo.
Wow.
Damn.
I know, guys. I know.
She put too much on her plate, and then.
Much too much,
And-
as she does.
But
Yes.
we're glad to have Emily also with Variety. It's I'm glad that we are building out at the Viall Files our variety repertoire of
Absolutely. That's what we're here to do.
of pop culture and reality TV lovers.
So many of us.
You've been covering
For almost
pop culture and
yeah.
reality TV for how long?
10 years?
10 years.
Yeah. It's been a long time. I watch a lot of TV.
We are excited to get into all of it. We got some Love is Blind reunion. We got Golden Bachelor. I cried again.
Oh,
I
same.
cry
You
every
had
episode
to.
so far.
Yeah, same.
I was by myself watching
Saw
it, just me and
everything.
Jeff. Just.
Oh my God. I have to be a mother.
But we do have a little bit of drama with Golden Bachelor, like a little
Yeah.
messiness, which I know kind of is just like
come
unnecessary.
Hey, I don't want it. I
Yeah.
don't want it.
save it for Paradise. But then Paradise, we finally, I was finally invested in this episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Things really picked up
Yeah.
out on the beach.
Before we get into any of that, should we discuss my fight with Tom Sandoval?
We have to, right?
I was kind of annoyed with the.
Yeah.
Obviously
What was the call?
Well, I don't know what you all thought watching it. Who won?
Not
It's tough
Tom.
because you told us so many times about it. you'd walked
Genevieve,
us through
play
it
the
so
fucking
many
role.
times.
Just like, what do you want me to say here?
No,
I
but
know we've already talked about this.
The clip. What is the clip? If you were watching it for the first time.
The ending felt very confusing. He's like, number 4, get back up. Like, come on, pull yourself together. And then all of a sudden, you two are like walking
Yeah.
away from
And
each
then
other.
they
And he's
show
like,
his bloody
he wins, he
nose.
loses.
Because I had never been in a fight before. I was like, this is going to be interesting.
Had Tom ever been in a fight before? I would assume so, yes.
I think so. He talked a lot about fights. He was like,
I know it's a huge shocker.
And apparently he was a high school wrestler,
Oh.
which made a lot of sense because he kept trying to like pick me up. So there's that part of there's that time where like it looks like we're tripping,
Yeah.
and he falls, and I work. It's because he's trying to like kind of try to pick me up. We had actually 3 different rounds, so they make it seem like it's one round.
Right.
And like when he fell and I was punching him, they stopped and let him get back up. But when the fight ended, I had thought I was like in my head, I'm like, holy shit, I won this thing because like I didn't think he punched me at all.
Yeah, because like the ones he went for, he doesn't make good contact.
I
Like the
didn't make
times that he's
I
so
didn't make a-
sloppy. He's
I didn't make a
super
ton of good
sloppy.
contact either because they when we started the fight, they were like, we don't want you boxing, we don't want you
Right.
dancing, or we just want you throwing as many punches at each other's heads as possible.
Okay.
I was like, okay.
Sounds great.
So that's all we're doing. It's just like fucking throwing haymakers. I'm like, I definitely won. And then he says Tom's number, and I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah, this was confusing to watch. I would
And
agree.
then when we got done fighting, because Tom ended up having to fight Jack too, because we had an odd number, so they made Tom fight Jack, and then Tom's nose really starts bleeding because you can kind of see it bleeding it's right at the end of the fight with him and I. And then when we get done with everything, Billy's like, if you're I can't do a British accent, but he's like, if you're surprised about the outcome, and like,
Oh my God, Nick.
pretty good, right? He's like, this is all about getting back up or some bullshit
course.
like that. So like, if you kept getting back up, I'm like,
well, you let him get back up.
so like, you want me to just get should I just stand there, let him punch me so I can get back up, and then you'll say I won? What the fuck? Although I did find out after we got done is like the DSs, like they didn't really honestly know anything about us. Like it wasn't like the producers were like, this is Tom Sandoval and here's his story and here's Nick and here's his story. They learned about us through filming the show.
That's probably a good thing. Though,
I don't think
right?
they knew about the world political implications of Tom Sandoval and a fight and rewarding him for getting back up.
You were like, look at this strong man. Look at what he can do.
Anyways, yeah. That was that.
That was that. Did you? So there were 3 different rounds, and it was sort of condensed.
So it wasn't like rounds per se. It was like they would just he was like, if we tell you to stop. They gave us some rules during the beginning, and so yeah, Tom ducked and like tripped, and then like I didn't fall, and he fell down, so I started punching him, and they're like stop, and then they let him get back up, and then we would go again. And so they broke us up a couple times. Tom kept trying to wrestle, like he kept trying to like go for my feet. And I was like, dude, I'm taller than you. You're not going to be able to do that.
I'm going to need to see the unedited clip of this.
But I was just...
Release the footage, please.
Yeah, it's not exactly a couple barbarians. Like, we weren't a couple of cage fighters. I was like tired. At the end, I was like, just, can we be done? I was so fucking tired. I didn't feel anything. And he never really got a shot in my face or anything like that.
Were you sore the next day?
No. I didn't feel anything. I was just tired. I was sore from the boat shit that we did and all like carrying that boat for
insane.
2 fucking miles. It was just because you're throwing all these punches for, I don't know. It was probably honestly 90 seconds total, maybe a little bit longer. I don't know. I was just like at the end. That's all, my only feeling was that of being
exhausted.
Pure exhaustion. That was it. That's the only thing I felt. But it was nice that Tom had I did give him a bloody nose, so there's that. I had that going for me.
And somehow he got the win.
Yeah.
And somehow he got
Maybe
the
he
win.
needed it.
You know
Sure
what?
did.
Some people just need a win.
Yeah.
After you've been beating him up on the internet, maybe he needed this.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe.
Yeah.
He needed to get back up. Yeah.
He needed to get back up.
I
A
don't
strong
know.
man, that Tom Sandoval.
I don't know. I'm sure America will have some fun with it. Celebrity boxing fights are like a thing now. Maybe this would be a great way for us to promo.
I mean, that's a popular thing. So here you go.
It's a huge popular
it's
thing.
really,
it's like more
really,
popular
especially
than
in the
boxing now.
Yeah, especially in like the reality world. A lot of reality people have gotten into
like
it.
no one knows who our actual boxers are. They're being like Paul Logan
Logan Paul.
or whatever the fuck. I'm sure his fans would tell me he's a real boxer now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Paul
And the guy
Logan.
from Love Island,
What?
Tommy Fury
Well,
from Love Island.
His brother or half brother is like a real fucking boxer, and I think actually that Tommy guy was a boxer before he was a reality TV star.
okay.
Tyson Fury, Jane Fury. One of
Yeah.
them.
I think
Wow.
he actually is a boxer. Like his brother's a world champion.
You know who else is big and strong and so handsome and probably an amazing friend
Jada
and
Pinkett
lover? No.
David Beckham.
Chris Rock.
No. Travis
Although,
Kelce.
amazing boyfriend though.
Jason Kelce. Okay.
Travis Kelce.
I love
Travis.
Jason Kelce too, though.
Okay.
Yeah. They
He-
made a little cameo
Yeah.
at SNL and in New York City.
Well, he played on
Holding hands.
Thursday night, so he had the weekend off.
Yeah.
So that's why he could go to
He
New
was
York.
like, I'm ready, guys.
Yeah.
I'm here.
And she was there. Taylor was
She
at
also
the
made a
game.
cameo. Oh, yes, of course. She was at the game.
They had that hilarious commercial before.
She didn't go to the game,
You guys
did she?
Yes, she was.
She went to the game.
She was
Yeah.
at the game. She was
She
sitting
was
with Donna.
Yep. This is
and
mom,
Brittany Mahomes.
And they did this
Wait,
commercial beforehand.
They all went to
So they went to the
The
game
Broncos
Thursday.
game.
Thursday. Yes.
Yes.
Taylor went to the game Thursday, but Taylor
But
didn't
he
go-
only went to the game Sunday.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was. What game were you talking about? His brother played in New York at New York,
Right, on
Yes.
Sunday.
so he went to his brother's game.
And everyone was waiting for her to show up.
Taylor
but she
did not show up.
Yeah.
She can. I mean, how many games do you want Taylor to go to?
Which
in
is
one
funny
single
because
week?
she's an Eagles fan, like her whole life. So it's a
Because
little
she's from
str-
Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
with
so
my
it's a
Eagles
little
t-shirt
She's an
hanging
Eagles
from your
fan?
door.
I mean, before Travis, she was.
Do you see her differently now?
I mean,
No,
I do.
I
As a
just-
Giants fan, I do.
No, but I
but-
just.
But so I was like, if you're going to go to a game,
go to
that's
your,
the one to go
go to
to.
your team.
Yeah. I mean, how funny would it have been if she got down there in some Eagles gear?
That'd be kind of great.
I would love that.
I would have loved to see Taylor's fandom outside of her fandom for her new boyfriend.
Is there a lack of Taylor fandom in the world?
No, her own fandom for
Oh,
her.
oh,
like,
yes.
I want to see what she's passionate about.
Of course.
Other than Travis.
It's a good question.
That is a good question.
What was she on Tumblr going off about before she blew up.
Imagine like an Eagles Tumblr page. That's like what it is. It's like all just Eagles stuff that she's pinned on her page.
She's writing like fanfic.
Yeah.
No, I wonder, that would be amazing if you found like a Taylor Swift burner Twitter account and it's just all this like toxic football fan
Yeah.
takes where she's like, fuck Andy Reid, who was the former coach back in the
Back
day.
to like McNabb. She's
Yeah.
like posting videos of McNabb's mom for Campbell's before Donna Kelce was the Campbell's woman.
Real toxic football takes
Yeah,
of her passion. That would be kind of hilarious.
Well, would she have been in the Michael Vick era?
I mean, she would certainly alive, yeah.
I remember it being really
I mean,
scandalized.
she might have been like a teenager.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it was a scandal.
It was like, I feel
Yeah.
like as a kid learning, like, people do that? That is so
Yeah,
messed up.
It was awful. Yeah.
Well, by the time he played for the Eagles, he was on the redemption
arc.
and arc of
Right.
acknowledging his wrongdoings and making amends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe him and Tom actually could have a sort of communion conversation about.
Yeah.
It's a great circle to throw them both into.
Yeah. So
Like that.
are they like official?
They're official. I mean, they were out all over New York this weekend holding hands.
And it's like real.
If that's what you want to believe.
You don't.
I'm a little in between. I think they're leaning into it a lot now. I think that even if it's not, even if it was just like, hey, let's go on a date and see if there's anything here. Now they're like, this is pretty beneficial for both of us. So there's something here.
I mean, I've heard from mutual friends there's a genuine interest.
I'm glad. I hope so. I like both of them. So I think it's just a lot. I think they're kind
Do you
of
think
throwing
it's too much?
I think it's too much.
But like, what should they do differently?
I don't think she needs to go to every game.
She's been to
3 of since they started.
Why can't she go to his games?
I'm not saying she can't go to his games, but it's becoming such a thing now that I'm not saying she can't go. I mean, I would go. If I got free tickets to every game, I would go, of course. But I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of being thrown down on our throats now, and that's not all on us. Elizabeth and I actually did this like deep dive into.
Are you saying that more of as a football fan or as a Taylor Swift fan?
I think more of as a football fan. It's like a little bit. Elizabeth and I and our colleague Angelique wrote something for Variety about like how the NFL is kind of like capitalizing off of this, and they are, and they admit it that like money is money, viewership is viewership, and it's going way up, and especially female viewers. But as a football fan, I'm not here to see who's in the stands. As someone who would pay and has paid a lot of money to see Taylor, I'm all for it. But I just,
do you feel like
it's that line?
It's not really taking anything away from the game, though.
I think making like Michael Strahan say like puns about Taylor Swift is a little bit taking away. Like it's a little silly to me. No? It doesn't feel silly to you?
Well, Michael Strahan is like the morning show.
I mean, as a Giants, I have to say Michael Strahan as the example. But
okay.
and just in general, like and he's the halftime show for Fox. I mean,
I guess.
But I think it's just
fine.
in general.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a diehard fan. It's not taking anything away from my ability to like watch the Packers. I mean, I
Right.
guess if I were a Chiefs fan,
Right. I guess that might be a little different.
maybe a little bit, but at
Yeah.
the same time, I would, as a Chiefs fan, I think I would like my team being like the talk of the town
Right.
more than anything.
That's
My
true.
mom is a Chiefs fan and she's thrilled.
Good.
It's like they're getting so much recognition. I love it. I'm so
Yeah.
happy for them.
Taylor, it's my understanding, doesn't have the most. She has a very restricted social life, being Taylor Swift.
Of course.
Doesn't get to just go out as much. And, this is her ability to kind of go out under like some protection while all,
Yes.
I don't know.
No, I can see that. And then I think them both showing up on SNL is kind of like, all right, we see the media, we see all this, and we're okay with it. So I guess that's a nice thing to do.
If they get asked,
Sure.
if all they're always guilty is saying, sure, we'll show up. I don't know. I
Yeah.
like it.
I mean, I like both of them, and they both seem to be happy. So at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
If it doesn't work out, how do you predict it ends?
I think she'll be over it.
You think she'll be over it?
Yeah. I think right now it's too much, and she's going to feel that it's too much.
He's a charming guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's so handsome, so charming, seems so nice. I don't know.
There's no way that Taylor could be like love struck.
They're totally, I mean, she's been love struck many times.
What if she called her mom and she's like,
This is the one.
I think this is the one.
I mean, imagine the album. Like,
Oh.
I'm here for that. But
I'm definitely excited for that.
But
yeah.
if they break up, imagine that album.
Well, but
How long do you
feel
think
like
they need to date before we get a real good album? Because
not very
she's
long.
written
She's
Enchanted after meeting someone one night.
I was like,
Yeah,
she's
it's fine.
probably done.
She is
it's
fine.
probably done.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, 100%.
One of her most,
can't
the
imagine
most
the-
successful song off that album,
Imagine
maybe.
the pressure of dating someone.
I know.
Who
Just
you can't. Their version, literally, is the one everyone's gonna believe.
I mean, oh,
Yeah,
it's got to be such a weird thing.
And to that point, I feel like when I was, growing up and she was like, had that kind of bullshit reputation for being like, oh my God, she's always dating new people and writing songs about them. Like, it seemed like the media was throwing so much shade at her that it was kind of a reclamatory way of her to be like, well, here's my side of the story. Like, these people, like, there's a reason I go through these breakups, and it's because usually something bad happens and it's not always my fault kind of thing.
Right.
But now it's like, because she has this
drunk
empire.
on power.
Yeah.
It's just, it must be hard for her because it's like when you're so powerful,
I
it's
know.
really hard to say anything that's not, I'm so happy and lucky.
She's done an amazing job of staying grounded.
Totally. I used to be annoyed when I was younger. I would be annoyed that I was like, every single album is about a new guy. Like, this is insane. And now as I've gotten older, I'm like, well, that's what happens. You date,
It's called
and
dating,
her
yeah.
outlet is writing about it. So it's like, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that.
Totally.
Some other people who are dating, married, separated, it's unclear. Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. Jada has gotten a lot of media attention.
I don't know if she's gotten attention.
Well,
she has asked for attention.
Yeah.
It seems
Her
like
publicist is pitching her out there.
She's like on she's on Dak Shepard's podcast. She's on Jay Shetty's podcast.
Yeah.
That's a weekend
She's on
after
the Today Show.
the
She's
Today Show. People Magazine did an expose. She's out there just ripping her
I'm like,
family
do I need to buy the book
to shreds.
now?
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to buy her book because I feel like I've heard so much already.
I've seen the internet refer to it as the pay attention to me tour. Why are you talking so much shit about your family?
Yeah.
I understand people get divorced. I get relationships don't work out. I understand being in a public relationship has its additional challenges, but it just reeks of, I don't understand. First, you didn't tell anyone that you weren't married for 7 years.
And you were pretending to be.
And your explanation for that is, we didn't really know how to address it to the public. It's like, I mean, I get, like Bachelor Nation couples. It's like, I think they're broken up, but they haven't announced it because, it can be a challenge. You're
Put
a little bit afraid.
Out.
You're a little afraid of how people are going to react. You're not sure are we sure we want to do this? Let's maybe wait and see if we maybe can work it out. A couple months.
Right.
I hear you there. 7 years? No. After a year, you're staying together for alternative reasons.
Yeah.
And I can only assume those reasons are, at least for her sake, to ride his coattails. Like, he's Will Smith.
Yeah.
He
doesn't need this.
He was very much the star of that family. And she had no problem showing up to all these events.
Like, on his arm, hugging him, kissing him on a carpet. The best acting Jada has ever done.
And now that he is persona non grata, it's like, fuck Will Smith.
Yeah.
He sucks.
No, she's we haven't been together. We're not together. We haven't been.
Not only were you not married, I didn't even want to get married in the first place. Oh, by the way, Tupac had alopecia. Why are we stomping on Tupac? He's like, the man's been dead for I don't know how many years, and now she's spilling tea about Tupac.
Yeah, I'm shocked her book doesn't also have that Tupac is alive. I'm sure it's in there. There's something in there that's going to be shocking
I saw a meme
about
saying Tupac faked his death to get away from Jada Pinkett Smith. But it's just so, it's the way she's doing it. It's like she's trying to, how do you see it, Emily?
Yeah, I think it's a publicity grab, which we've all seen many, many times when people are promoting a book, but it's just not a good look. I think anyone who's even a fan of her, or it just doesn't look good that you're going out there everywhere. You're not talking about it one time. You're talking about it over and over and over again. And then you're literally just slamming your husband and your marriage and the whole belief of marriage after for so long kind of doing the opposite. I mean, she brought him on Red Table Talk and had these conversations that were very open that I
kind of emasculating.
Well, and she talked about that like kind of reputation of that like, oh, because I was the wife who brought him on to like talk about our affair, but she was. But he was okay. But also he agreed to that. No one's forcing Will Smith to do anything.
That's true.
And like this at the end of the day that was good publicity for him also. They are also a business.
Yeah.
You have to, I try to put like the marriage side apart because they both are in the business. Their kids are in the business. They are constantly thinking.
How do we think Will feels about this?
Probably not thrilled, right? I wouldn't be thrilled.
I mean, listen, he made his own choices at the Oscars.
Yeah.
But it makes the Oscar situation all that more bizarre.
Well, and that's what she said. Like, she said she was most surprised hearing him call her his wife.
We haven't used that word in years.
Like, but that was Will being like, no, I still am the husband here, which he isn't.
Because I don't know.
I guess he is. Because
publicly, that's how they play
right.
they play the role. And Jada gave like Will a look of like, at the time, we all seen the look she gave Will. And again, that's Will's responsibility.
Yes.
We're not blaming Jada for Will's actions. But to cut the cord and act like you were some innocent bystander through that whole thing doesn't pass the smell test.
No, it's not great. It doesn't look great on either of them. I think it sucks for their family also. Like,
Right?
that's a really crappy thing for their kids to have to deal with, too.
More than anything, that's what I thought about all weekend.
Yeah.
It's just like, Nally and I are about to have a kid.
Yeah.
And we work really hard on our relationship. Hopefully we continue to do so and our relationship lasts through the years. Jada is not the first person to talk ill of a past partner, but like, I just think it's so shitty.
But is he your past partner? It's like, I think there's still, I also was confused.
Yeah. At least because you're, to your point, yeah, maybe you're not married, but you still seem to be a partnership in business or a
it's
family.
100%.
An alliance, together. It feels
But like you're still together all the time. I mean, they're seen together. They go to events together. It's not just like, oh, we're cordial for our kids, which we've seen a ton, which is amazing. They come off as a couple. They are publicly like holding hands, kissing, doing all these things in public.
Yeah. And I can't imagine. I don't ever want my children to hear me talk shit about their mom publicly or vice versa. Ever.
As a child of divorce, and like I will say, both my parents are remarried. All four of them are good friends. And they never once, even though as I've gotten older, I'm like, wow, you're very impressive, or never once talked crap about each other in front of me or my sister.
I actually saw something not too long ago, and I probably should have looked it up because I'm going to butcher it. But it was basically a discussion about the damage you can do to your children by talking shit about your respective partners in front of them.
Yeah.
And if you paint your ex, husband or wife in a bad light to your kids, the psychological damage you can do on their perspective of dating in the future is significant. And I thought that was really interesting.
I wish I had that to blame on my issues of dating.
Parents fuck us up in so many ways. But yeah, it's just like, but when you think about it, it's true how it kind of warps your perspective of what you think a partner should or shouldn't be. And your value towards that.
And it's not just Jada talking about it in front of her kids, like with her friends and their kids are in the next room. It's like you're publicly going on a microphone multiple times and telling everybody all these things about your relationship.
Yeah, it's just I don't
see what the point of that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very telling. I have the New York Times article pulled up, and she describes becoming an urban nun of sorts, and talking about meditation, reading texts like the Quran or the Bible. She abstains from sex, alcohol, violent entertainment, and unnecessary spending. And it's like, I feel like,
what is violent entertainment?
I would argue that her little media tour is violent entertainment.
I think there's
towards Will's.
Yeah.
Certainly a case to be made.
Also,
for
does that mean she doesn't watch any of Will's movies? Is that what the Oscars was violent entertainment.
Yeah.
So she did not abstain from that.
It's just, I do think these conversations, like if they existed in a more like healthy, mature way, could be really interesting in talking about like the ways that like a marriage could ebb and flow to accommodate various like changing stages of life, especially for a celebrity couple where there is just like such a unique dynamic around like their professional life and their children and all the things that they have going on. Like it makes sense to need to still maintain this alliance in a certain capacity. And so I feel like there's a version of this where it could have been a really healthy exploration of like what are these things that we assume to be presets in a marriage that actually are a little bit more like customizable with good communication, but instead it feels like a very one-sided form of communication.
It just comes across as very self-righteous.
Yeah.
And also I'm like, why are we picking on Tupac, man? I just want to think he just chose to have that shiny, beautiful, bald head.
Let the man rest in peace. Like, it's been a long time.
Yeah. Tupac had alopecia. I was like, okay.
Like, maybe don't out his medical problems, okay?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not the only one who deals with hair problems. Tupac did too. I don't know. It's weird. It's
very strange.
It's
a lot. I will say, as someone in the media, it's a lot. We see these people. We see people go on book tours all the time. I mean, people do it and talk about, the revelations inside the book and all that. And I love it reading a book about that. But I don't need it shoved down my throat. I don't need you to do 10 stops on the tour.
Clearly, Jada did not sign an NDA when she married Will.
Clearly not.
No.
Poor guy. If you are tired of running out of your favorite wines, well, fear not. We have an amazing solution for you.
So I love First Leaf. I have always been a wine person, specifically a red wine person, but specifically a Cabernet red wine person.
Oh, same.
And I don't really love to adventure that much because I just, I don't know. I don't want to buy something and then have the whole bottle. But this was such a fun experience because you get to take a little quiz. It asks you not only what kind of wines you like, but how adventurous you are, what kind of foods you like, what kind of tastes, aromas. And then it hand selects you wines. And I got to try 3 new wines that I would have never tried. And they were delicious. They tell you what it pairs with. And so I made some food that paired well, some roasted potatoes and baked pastas, and had a little tasting. And it was just such a delightful experience. And I felt like such a grown-up.
Love that. Well, we love First Leaf because they make it easy to get personalized wines delivered on your schedule right to your door. Since you're able to choose the day of the shipments, we're never stressing about the delivery. And every selection is backed by First Leaf's 100% satisfaction guarantee. Give your palate what it really wants with First Leaf. To get First Leaf, go to tryfirstleaf.com/VIALL to sign up, and you'll get your first 6 hand-curated bottles. That's tryfirstleaf.com/VIALL, tryfirstleaf.com/VIALL, tryfirstleaf.com/VIALL. Hey, all you pet lovers out there, have you tried Sundays yet? Well, if you are not, you are missing out on the high-quality ingredients that your dog will love. If you love your pets just as much as I love Jeff, you know that it's super important what you feed them. Sundays is air-dried dog food made from a short list of human-grade ingredients. Sundays was co-founded by Dr. Tony Waxman, a practicing veterinarian. Sundays contains 90% real meat, 10% vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. In every recipe, you'll find natural digestive aids like pumpkin and ginger, plus disease-fighting antioxidants. Dog parents reported noticeable health improvements in their pups, including softer fur, healthier skin, better poops, and more energy. Sundays is self-sustainable, lightweight, and easy to travel with. If you're on the go, every order ships right to your door, so you'll never worry about running out of food again. Plus, get 20% off and free shipping on every subscription order. Sundays cost 40% less than other healthy dog food brands because they don't waste money shipping frozen packages. Instead, they spend on what matters, selling the best all-natural ingredients for your pup. We worked out a special deal for our dog-loving listeners. Get 35% off your first order of Sundays. Just go to sundaysfordogs.com/VIALL and use code VIALL at checkout. That's sundaysfordogs.com/VIALL. Upgrade your pup to Sundays and feel good about the food you feed your dog. Nutrafol.
I feel like for hair thinning, it is something where so many people to have to deal with it, 1 in 2 women. And there's so many products out there that claim to do well. The thing that I think really distinguishes Nutrafol is that they have the clinical studies and a track record of success that actually proves that they have an effective product. So in their clinical study, 86% of women reported improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol women's hair growth supplement for 6 months. So this is something that is consistently effective. It's never good to feel like you're losing your hair. It's deeply disconcerting, in fact. And Nutrafol is an amazing way to kind of combat that the second you might feel something going on, whether it's a hormonal situation, postpartum, whether it has to do with aging. Nutrafol has many active ingredients that address the root cause of hair thinning, and it has a whole body approach to hair health.
In a clinical study, 86% of women reported improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol Women's Hair Growth Supplement for 6 months. Take the first step into visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter promo code The Viall Files. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare providers recommended Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code The Viall Files. Find out why 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code The Viall Files. Anyways, all right. Is it time for Love is Blind reunion?
I think so.
All right, Emily. What were your thoughts on this season?
I feel like this season, the reunion was more exciting than a lot of the season, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah. I liked to see everybody back together in one room and people facing each other, especially JP and Taylor. But I felt like this season was, because there were so few couples followed, there was a little bit of a lull for me.
Yeah. I thought the season itself was pretty messy. I enjoyed the mess.
I mean, I love the mess.
I actually quite enjoyed this season more than I guess I did the reunion.
Interesting.
Although, because we did have a chance to talk with Izzy before. Yeah. So I felt like
Did you know a lot of the stuff? I feel like that was also the fear. And that's also the fear of always when there's a reunion that films a year and a half after the season wraps that a lot of people have already read a lot of stuff online. I didn't because I wanted to enjoy it in the reunion, but...
Well, we had a chance to talk with
Yeah,
Izzy.
of
We have a
course.
part 2 with Izzy this Thursday for Going Deeper.
Ooh.
That gets into some of the things they talked about the reunion a little bit more. A little bit more the nuance of him and Stacey.
Nice. I'm interested in
They
that.
kind of skipped over.
Yeah, it felt like him and Stacey really weren't trying to relitigate anything. Like they were just trying to be like, cool, calm, collected.
Yeah.
We're
Mhm.
mature and over it.
Yeah, they came to the reunion kind of like, I don't know. It feels like it was like Stacey, like, hey, we're going to be nice to each other.
Yeah, she was calling the shots.
Anyway,
for
Stacey
sure.
wasn't here when we interviewed Izzy, so we relitigated that relationship. When he was with us, you could tell he was trying to still maintain what seemed to be a mutual agreement they had.
Right.
But without the benefit of Stacey here, we tried to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
We
Well,
tried
I'm
to,
excited to hear this.
the way Izzy tells it on our episode is I thought a little more harsh than the way they told it
Yeah.
at the reunion, especially when they got together like a week later.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused by how they talked about that because it seemed very much like, oh, they saw each other. He thought it was going to be something and she didn't, so he left, and then they didn't see each other for a year.
So like when we interviewed Izzy for part 1, it was at a time where he was maybe the villain of the season, I suppose. Did any of your opinions towards Izzy change as the season progressed, or at least evolved, leading up to when he was left at the altar?
I never thought he was the villain of the season.
Okay,
And I always viewed him pretty positively.
really?
Yeah. You did not.
No, I was more neutral.
Yeah.
I watched this show, especially more and more now. What I love about Love Is Blind, as I've said, I love that they don't have heroes and villains.
Mhm.
They have flawed characters, all of them, every single one. Everyone you see, they show red flags and green flags. They
Mhm.
show moments of, oh, wow, that's really nice. Then there's some moments of like, ooh, it's a little toxic, And I love that about Love Is Blind. However, I do think people who watch the show, for the most part, still love to pick a side.
Yeah.
If you identify with Milton, you will find ways to agree with Milton. If you identify with Aaliyah, Taylor, whoever
Mhm.
you see yourself in,
Right.
or if you see a former partner in someone else,
It's the opposite.
it's
Yeah.
the opposite. And Izzy definitely has played the role of the fuck boy,
Yeah.
with the whole drawer, the
Leaving
trophy,
it there
the trophy
purposely.
drawer.
Yeah.
The lost and found.
He had some bad
So uncomfortable.
beats, but I really thought that he, towards the end, to me, was a guy who, for better or worse, he was very much all in
hmm
this experiment. I do find it really interesting that it's not the first time, but it was emphasized to me, I guess, watching the reunion, just the way Nick and Vanessa keep referring to it as the experiment and litigating who was more like it's the whole like between Lydia and Uche of like, should they, that was really interesting when the
Yeah.
show was like, when Nick and Vanessa outed the show by saying, hey, actually, it was the producers who asked Lydia and Uche at first
Yes.
not to tell anyone to preserve the
The
experiment. And for all not that I want to get into it all that much, but there's a lot of noise coming out of Love Is Blind cast over the
Mhm.
past couple seasons. But I think the show smartly, and I don't know how they argue about this in court if it ever gets to court, but the fact that they refer to it as an experiment.
Yes. Never a reality show.
Never a reality show. Because in an experiment, you are subjecting yourselves to
Yes.
very different type of standards. An experiment has a controlled environment. And in a controlled environment, there's information that is controlled
Mhm.
by definition. There are scenes that are controlled by definition. And for all the things that some cast might say, this is fucked up and blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah, Love Is Blind is like, you literally signed up for an experiment. We've been
Right.
transparent about our experiment.
I've spoken a lot to the executive producer of the show who created this experiment. And we've talked a lot about that exactly, about how the cast is 1000% aware when they sign up what this is and what this entails. I will say over the years, I've spoken to him since this. I mean, he also created Married at First Sight. So I've spoken to him for many years. And he's never once said reality show. He's always said experiment, like never, never, never when talking about Love Is Blind. But
That's not an accident for sure.
No, absolutely not. It's definitely not an accident, but it's also what you were saying about Nick and Vanessa bringing up that the producers asked them not to say. I asked him about that too in that entire process because he had said that we specifically pulled them. First, we suggested Lydia and Uche leave. We both told them you can't stay here.
That's what Chris was saying.
Yeah, that you have to. We can't do this because this goes against the entire experiment. And they were like basically both like begged to stay, and they were like, okay, but you can't tell your partners until it gets very, very serious. You can't tell anybody else.
I kind of get it.
I get it.
Yeah.
I don't think they should be punished for it. I don't think they should have had to leave. It's not their fault, or is it?
And I get not telling other people until a certain point because they wanted those people to be influenced by the experiment and the environment first before they were influenced by Lydia and Uche.
I wonder if Uche said to Aaliyah and we just didn't see it, like, the producers didn't let me tell you. Because that would have, to me, Aaliyah was so upset that nothing was ever said for so long. Like, I feel like he probably did say that and they just cut, which they would cut it. That would make sense to cut. But I was like, oh, does that change things?
Does it change things for you?
No. No, but I mean, Millen could get past it, but Uche couldn't. But I think that's a bigger Uche problem than Aaliyah problem.
Yeah, with Uche not showing up and then trying to do all these other, like, he's trying to have his own reunion show by, like,
It's like when a candidate won't participate in a debate, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, like, that's your choice, but
yeah,
seems a little silly.
It's kind of, so wait, you're going to go on these podcasts and have these kind of one-sided conversations, you know? Like,
there's no one there to, like, tell the story.
Yeah.
Like, JP and Taylor both showed up and they hadn't seen each other since that moment in the getaways, which surprised me that it's been that long.
That's crazy.
That's insane, especially with apparently how small Houston is, because they all
hang out. Like,
right.
You know,
I think that's the brilliant thing about this show is that because they live in the same place, like the opportunity to have some kind of like situationship or like something that is very much akin to modern dating after the show is really available. So we get all of the like kind of authentic messiness of modern dating because they're in the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also, I felt like, you know, kind of closing the Uche thread, it did feel like Aaliyah was kind of the primary person who missed out the most because of the lack of like controls in the experiment not working. And it seems like it was a lot of Lydia's conversation with Aaliyah that truly like kind of like ruined the experimental element of like like Lydia oversharing certain details about Uche. Not even just like that she dated him, but just, you know, like wild turkey and he drives a Tesla and stuff like that.
I was shocked by how much I bought Lydia's explanation.
Me too.
Well, because
right?
She's consistent.
I was like, consistent.
I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Okay.
When she said, I didn't read the room, I was like, yeah, no, you didn't.
Well, although that you did bring me to, I had two takes, and you reminded me of one. One is overall, I was like, that explanation made sense, you know, and her explanation is like, listen, yeah, we both knew we were applying for the show. And then there was zero conversation. So I didn't know for sure if he was or wasn't coming on. And that makes sense. Like, what is she supposed to like check in with a guy she's no longer dating? Like, she knew that it was a consideration and that's it.
Right. I wonder if the 3 months before when they hooked up in January, right before filming, if that was when they talked about it.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, so I do kind of buy that.
Yeah.
And then you find out that the show didn't let them tell their respective partners. So Lydia's not able to tell. And then she gets the green light from the show to tell. And her explanation is kind of like, well, at that point, I thought I got the green light to just be an open book. And I wanted to fucking share everything with my now bestie friend.
Right.
And she's way closer with Aaliyah at the time than she is anyone else. So it's like this weird thing where, and then she recognized that she didn't read the room.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense.
The only wrench thrown in is that Aaliyah said, which we didn't see on the show. She said, I asked her to stop multiple times and she didn't.
Yeah, that she set a boundary.
Like, she did? Like, we didn't see that.
Which is the reading of the room part.
Right.
But I will say the fact that Lydia, her response was more, I didn't read the room. And then for the next 15 minutes, she's explaining why it's not her fault, which is very Lydia.
Yeah.
Because she could have said, I was trying to be a good friend. And then she could have spent 10 minutes about talking about why she wasn't reading the room and like where she wanted to hold herself accountable. You know, it's the approach is
Right.
very obvious. Like Lydia doesn't like being wrong.
Yeah, no,
at
absolutely
all.
not.
So she threw out, I didn't read the room, and then explained it. But it kind of made sense to me. I don't think she showed up like Uche's trying to convince the world that she was obsessed with him and showed up to like
Stalk him
and ruin the like that is a psychotic, very narcissistic point of view to why you think Lydia showed up from Uche's point of view. It's like it's all about him. It's like, come on, bro.
And though I'd wished like she'd maybe addressed Aaliyah, like I think maybe there could have been a bit more of a direct apology to Aaliyah, although maybe that's something they've had outside of the show. It made sense to me that like she wasn't really talking to Aaliyah, she was talking to the Uche who wasn't there, because he did present such a specific, creepy, obsessive, like my crazy ex-girlfriend version of her. So it made a lot of sense that she would want to set the record straight. But I think it came at the expense of a tiny bit more of accountability towards being like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, I do see how.
I get where Uche is upset because from his point of view, I guarantee you, he blames Lydia for his whole experience
100%.
falling through the cracks.
Yes.
And he blames Lydia for Aaliyah's, I guess, reaction to him and not wanting to be in the relationship. But like what he doesn't get, it's like, it's not that, dude. It's everything else that we're seeing.
The way that Milton said it, like, he's the one that's obsessed with our relationship.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's very evident.
The fact that Uche was still texting Milton after being left on red was really telling to me. Of like, he's trying to make it sound like Lydia's the stalker who's viewing everyone's Instagram stories. You're the one having a one-sided conversation, my man.
Yeah.
Also, there's something wrong with looking at people's Instagram stories. I'm just going to say that. 'Cause I don't think there's anything wrong with what she did if that she was doing that. You guys are like, no, you're
he
crazy.
definitely overblew it, but like, he sold this whole narrative that in the context of his story, it sounded shady.
Yes, of course. The way he was describing
think about it, like, first of all, who's like looking at all the people who view their Instagram stories? That's weird.
Yes, definitely
and then
weird.
Who's doing it with like a close enough lens to be like, wait, I don't recognize that person. And then how did they all come together to be like who was the first person to be like, guys, someone that I don't know is looking at my Instagram stories.
Right.
That is weird.
Yeah,
it's all,
that's weird.
How did that come together?
But I don't look at my Instagram stories and be like, I don't know these three people. Let's see how I connect to
Yeah,
them.
but like to Jen's point,
yeah.
it's like Uche would have had to notify all these friends, whoever these friends are that he kept talking about, and let them know that he dated Lydia. And then all these friends had to reach out to him
See
and been
this
like,
one
this
girl.
person's... And keep in mind, it wasn't like Lydia, the star from Love is Blind at the time.
Right.
It was like
This random
just
person.
some girl
Yeah.
named Lydia, as far as they were concerned at the time.
Yeah, now looking at it, I'm like, when he was saying it, I was like, oh, that does sound creepy. And now I'm like,
Yeah,
Is it?
now that we are kind of playing it back, he is outing himself for, regardless of what you think Lydia is doing, he is outing himself for being obsessive over this.
mm-hmm.
Because you have to be obsessive to pay attention to some of the facts that he is using to litigate his campaign of Lydia being the stalker who showed up to ruin Uche's Love is Blind experience.
Which is so funny because Lydia is the only one that like got a happy ending.
The only one.
Totally.
And her and Milton seemed so happy.
I love them.
my gosh.
And I was so not
Milton
buying
is
it at the
so
beginning. And now
mature.
I
he's
mean,
King.
the most mature 24-year-old I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
yes, except, well, nothing's changed. I guess after a while, it was like he looked so good that moment where he was like, "Let me talk to you about my wife's character." Like I was melting.
Oh
it was
my
so good.
God.
It was like
yes,
it was like
yes.
that.
Like
that
that
was
is what
such a-
every woman wants.
What a moment! What a
Yeah.
moment for him! What a moment for Lydia! Really, more of a moment for him. He looks like an absolute king. But Milton is, probably 25, 26 now. He still talks like a guy who just hasn't dealt with any real disappointment yet.
Right.
In a sense where it's very convenient to be able to say to someone, even like Uche, who, we've discussed all his problems with him, is saying like, everything you have to say about her is inconsequential to me. It's like, maybe,
Right.
I don't know. Like we've all gotten feedback about someone we chose to ignore only
Mhm.
to find out that we should have listened. I am not saying that we should listen to Uche about Lydia, and just there is a level of naivete with Milton that allows him to have this kind of unspeakable or just like this profound sense of like loyalty
Yeah.
And trust.
And
and
positivity.
trust and
about anything.
positivity and just openness. And it's like, okay, man,
Like,
like the world hasn't gotten you down yet.
yeah. That's true. And also, he was the only one in this experiment that did have someone from Lydia's, personally, like you have someone from your partner's past, whether you want to believe it or not. I'd probably hear that person out because I'd be so curious. You don't know this person. You literally don't know this person at all.
On the flip side, though, there is an element of Milton where I guess nowadays, I think we maybe have to go back to a little bit of like caution of the wind.
Mm-hmm.
We're out there looking at everyone's red flags and green flags and trying to understand like how you're going to fuck me over in 5 years and shit like that. Where, listen, there's no guarantees with love and relationships. It's a messy, messy world. And sometimes we just have to go give it the old college try and just have your person's back until they're not your person anymore.
Right. Like you need faith.
Yeah.
Because if you
really
don't
do.
have it, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I think it was also really telling that Lydia has such a good relationship with Milton's parents who, at least as it was presented to us on the show, who knows? They could have had a really strong connection and they only showed kind of the most kind of moments where they were expressing concerns or questioning her. But from what we saw, it seemed like his parents were critical and were like jury's out on whether this thing works. And so the fact that Lydia has earned their trust and developed such a strong relationship, I think is very significant because while Milton might not have that experience, like his parents certainly do. And they clearly are looking out for him, have his best interests at heart and are rightfully suspicious of a new person. And so it seems like that's a really big vote of confidence that she's been able to develop a relationship.
Yeah, he really has impressed everyone.
America.
Yeah.
100%.
Milton has impressed America.
Nick and Vanessa seemed thrilled with him. They were so happy with him, but they also seemed thrilled with Chris until they weren't.
Oh my God. I was like, when I was like, I'm sorry, he didn't break up with her?
This is a perfect example of how people often mistake weakness for goodness and niceness. Because I think people will see a weak person, and often they see that weak person being more demure and more gentle, and they go weakness, and they see that as gentleness, and they think, well, gentleness is good, so then weakness must be good. And Chris, I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but he is just another person with some more red flags. And Chris, throughout a season, we saw a guy who just sweet and nice and demure, and we thought he must be just an angel, an absolute fucking angel. And what he is just a weak guy. He's just weak. He's who admitted, which that was him showing a little bit of strength. Good for him, And I'm not saying he's a weak person, but like he has demonstrated some weakness. We all have at times, but the inability to have tough conversations with someone, knowing that you're going to hurt their feelings, is weakness. And people do it all the time. Tom Sandoval showed weakness by handling Scandoval the way he did. It's just weakness. When we say, "Oh, I didn't tell you because I didn't want to upset you," that's you being a weak person.
And has so much more to do with you, because as much as you can in your head frame it as, I didn't want to tell you news that would be upsetting. Like Chris said, I don't like telling people news they don't want to hear.
Well, no one does.
Nobody does.
Literally no one.
And also, you are not.
Well, every once in a while, there's someone who's like, "Let me do it."
And you're always like, "Oh, you good?"
Psycho.
But it's so much more of you not willing to like step into the discomfort of having to be honest with someone than it is protecting someone, because you can't, like, the truth is the truth. It has already happened. The fact of the matter is that you are not in love with Johnny. You do not care for her. You do not want to continue a relationship. You have found someone else. Like, that is the truth. You not telling her does not make that any less of the truth. It just makes you unwilling to do the right thing and like kind of take it head on and deal with, like, sometimes you disappoint people and it sucks.
It does suck, yeah.
But like, you need to do that and not suck even more by trying to like sidestep or escape it.
Yeah, I just think so many times we see people like Chris on reality TV shows and we go, oh, they're sweet, and what they really are is just weak. They're weak because they don't have the guts to either stand up for themselves or stand up to other people or deliver some bad news and hold themselves accountable, and it's just weakness.
Yeah. I'm so curious what would have happened if Chris and Johnny went through the experiment, if they like got engaged in the pods, and if they would have gotten married or said yes.
I doubt it.
I doubt it too, but I'm just curious because he's so worried about like hurting someone that he kind of seems like the person who would he's the person who I used to be that stayed in a relationship for way too long because you didn't want to upset the person.
I'm not speaking about you, but I don't buy Chris this whole I didn't want to hurt Johnny.
So you thought cheating on her wouldn't hurt her.
You didn't give a shit about Johnny.
And you were scared to have the conversation.
You were scared to have a conversation, and you were scared about the awkwardness that it would be.
I mean, breaking up with someone sucks. Let's be honest. It's not fun for most people.
Only excuse I'll give Chris, is it's not an excuse, but just to try to empathize and put the audience in maybe his mindset is, if you're not like Lydia and Milton, and even if you are, at first when you get out of these like bubbles and these experiments, you just don't know what's real and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, is this a real relationship? When Vanessa and I, after The Bachelor, like it was real. We made a real effort to make that relationship work.
Mhm.
But I think we were kind of like, what is this
Right.
thing that we're in?
Yeah.
You know? And Johnny and Chris left this experiment single, reconnected at the airport. I don't know what conversations they had about boundaries and expectations. Were they actually boyfriend and girlfriend? Were they just kind of hanging
Well, I
out and kind of
think
seeing where it goes?
But at the cookout or whatever it was that they had,
They were together.
she told people we're official.
Okay.
So I thought that too, and then I went back because I
So-
was like, did they have that? They must have, unless
So yeah, no, he's just a weak man.
yeah, I
He's-
was bummed about that. It bummed me
Vanessa
out.
had her best line ever. She was like,
Yes.
so you protect the people you love, but would you cheat on the people you love? And he goes, yeah, I guess I do.
He goes,
Apparently, yeah.
He owned that.
I know that Vanessa and Nick get some criticism, and they're not always the
was good
greatest
for
hosts.
them,
But
yeah.
I was like,
They had
applaud.
a great showing.
They had a good job this time. They did a good job this
Well,
time.
it wasn't live.
Yeah.
So yeah, Vanessa and Nick, not bad.
I was
Totally.
impressed.
Impressed.
I was impressed with them.
Okay.
I agree.
I mean, better than usual.
Well, yeah, totally.
So
But we went from like get them off our TV screen to like impressed. I thought more as well like, okay.
no, I always and I never mind when they kind of go in hard, and I know people get annoyed with them for going in hard, and I'm like,
Oh, I don't mind the going in hard. This was the first time Vanessa didn't make it about her.
well, yeah, I was waiting for her to like start crying.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens. And she's always like, in my relationship with Nick, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thanks for the update.
And them always talking about how old they are. Like they always are like, is that something that happens in relationships now? As if they're like 75. I'm like,
He did bring up 98 degrees
he
at one
did,
point.
yeah.
Yeah.
one of them said they weren't alive or something when it was on. And I was like, that's a little excessive.
Or when they were trying to clarify on Izzy and Johnny hooking up after the show, and she was
Yes.
like, "Is hooking up sex these days? I don't know."
Yeah, I'm like, why do you talk like you're 70? I don't
Yeah.
understand.
I felt like Izzy was making way more of that than it was. It sounds like they ran into each other at a bar and had a 30-second conversation, drunk, I'm sure,
Yeah.
being like, what if we got together? And then at the bar, they like fucking maybe kind of packed, and that
In
was
his
it.
No,
car,
but they said
in
in
the
his
Jeep.
car.
In his car.
So then
Okay.
I was like, was that night? Because then
took
she
her home?
said, because she said later, there was like, we tried to hang out a couple times. So I was like, oh, was there a second time?
Yeah.
So the timeline was a little weird there, but I agree. It probably was nothing.
I feel, and I ask Izzy this, but I feel like Stacey kind of played him.
How?
Played.
Yeah.
Interesting. What do you mean?
Because I think there are some people who show up for this experiment and dive into it. And I think some people know exactly what they're doing, and they know that they signed up for a very popular TV show that
Mhm.
is riddled with potential opportunities that follow. They've seen previous seasons. They've seen what I refer to as the Hannah Brown moment, where, or in the Love is Blind, the Deepti
Mhm.
moment of standing up for yourself at the altar, and the best scenario, the best outcome many of these individuals see as a possibility is to leave single. Because when you go into the show, you're not thinking, I'm going to fall in love and get married to someone in 6 weeks. You're all thinking this is the same, but who knows? We'll see what happens. But many people, rightfully so, imagine there's no way. So they're like, how can I do this experience and have it work out the best for me? Stacey is intelligent, smart, and I could see how she would have seen other seasons and thought, how do I do this?
Right.
How do I end single and get sympathy all at the same time? I think a lot of people going in to these shows, whether it's Bachelor in Paradise, we'll see it this episode, Love is Blind, and having the benefit of watching past seasons, think that they can kind of carve out their own edit or their own narrative,
Mm-hmm.
many of which failed to do so.
Right.
But for all of Izzy's faults, he seemed to me to be very much, I'm going to dive into this experiment and really immerse myself. And Stacey never did. And she seemed to she would take the littlest things and try to make it into a big thing. And that is just not something that, and especially in this experiment wasn't about nitpicking every little thing. It was about getting to know someone in a short period of time and lean on the connection that you formed in the pods and try to build off of that, not relitigate your relationship now that you're outside of the pods and try to discredit everything you did in the pods. Like Milton and Lydia, for all of their faults, were just like, no, we're going to focus on the bond that we built out in the pods that focused on our emotional connection. And we're going to take that momentum and build off of that. And Stacey did the literal opposite.
The only thing it seemed like they had that was a strong physical connection, and that was what they built on over and over again in my mind.
Sure, until like they got into the real world and anything came up about like Izzy, and she just wouldn't let it go and add to it, and then
Right, she was looking for problems in my mind, like with the paper plates or with things like that. She was looking
only
for
to find out
issues.
he actually had regular plates.
I
She
don't
was like,
Yeah, I didn't interpret it as her looking for problems. I think she has some really rigid standards that lend themselves to perhaps like nitpicking or blowing stuff out of proportion. But I didn't feel like she was doing it for an out. I feel like that's how she is. And it's something where the people who could maybe most benefit from this experiment, who are the most kind of like specific or really like to control all these various factors and are going into this to like shake that up so that way they can't vet people in the same way and that they have to fall in love based off of just like an emotional connection. Like it could make sense to me that this would be an environment that was very bizarre for her. And I do buy that she felt really shaken that Izzy hadn't brought up the credit card thing before. Like I think that opened to this can of worms of like, what else?
I think there was 100% chance she already knew she was going to say no before she found out about the credit card stuff.
yeah, same.
Interesting.
I think
that was
so
the
too.
night before. Like,
Yeah.
Stacey,
I think she already, it's not ever one thing. We know that, but I think she had already made up her mind.
Yeah.
And I listened to you guys talked about this before, but in my mind, if that was such a big deal, the credit score, the credit card thing, all of that, which you guys have already gotten into, why didn't she bring it up in the pods? If that is, she has such specific standards about finances and not having someone that has a lot of money, but just having their things in line. Why didn't you talk about that?
Drill them in the pods. We do find out what Izzy's credit score was on Thursday's episode.
That's a good tease.
And I am curious what you guys think after listening to Izzy, because he goes into detail about the conversation that Stacey and him had a week after the wedding. And I just felt like me hearing that was like, yeah, you got played.
Oh, yikes.
That was my interpretation.
I agree, yeah.
I'm curious what you all think. Izzy was, again, he was reluctant to
He felt
go
protective.
there. He felt
her.
you could, I'm curious what you'll think listening it back.
I'm very
But
excited
after
to hear
listening, it was just like, yeah, no, dude, she was done. She had no interest. And she, every time ran into you, said what she needed to say to make you feel better about it so that you weren't a bad guy. So that a year later, when you went to the reunion, you would agree to her little, peace offering and alliance. And yeah, you got played.
Ugh, poor Izzy.
That's what I think.
I do feel like I know he's like dating someone now or whatever he said on the reunion, which was weird also, that neither of them really wanted to say if they were dating someone. I mean, she is dating someone, but I was confused. I feel like he probably got a lot of DMs from some women that afterward this wrapped. Because I think
we met his girlfriend.
Oh, is she cool?
Yeah.
As if you're going to be like, no, she sucks.
I didn't really get to know her,
yeah.
but very, very
That's
beautiful.
nice.
And
good.
little information on her on the episode. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I think he totally got played.
I don't know. I do feel like I at first really wouldn't relate to Stacey, and I was a little bit like frustrated watching with the way she was treating him and the way that she dealt with all of her finances and kind of said that her family something, I don't know. I feel like that was really weird and kind of icky. But I do feel like as I've gotten older that I've realized like having stability and having a job and having all that is so important that I was like, oh, maybe I do relate to Stacey.
I mean, I think all her reasons for not wanting to marry Izzy were valid.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing her for not wanting to marry Izzy. It was just, I think she knew that Izzy was all in. She never was. And she was willing to go to the end to be on camera and hope that she would get her deep D moment.
Or hoping that to give, and I don't know that she deserves benefit of the doubt, but to give her like absolute maximal benefit of the doubt, her like trying to push herself and say, I know this is incredibly uncomfortable. Like she seems like someone who is very much like feels most at peace when she is in control of things. Like it seems like she is very much someone who is able to like plan and execute. Like she's kind of built a lot of stability for herself. Granted, it seems like she had a lot of help and was coming from a great start. But that being said, it's like she
because
owns
her
her house.
grandfather like really paid his dues.
That's what I was like, huh?
Yeah, no, that was kind of like, and that's the thing that makes it hardest
What
for,
an
I
out
think,
of touch.
It was so out of touch.
So
That's what I was
out
like,
of touch.
oh. She's
yeah.
like, I've worked really hard for this. And I was like, you have? Or
Well, she is
I'm
a Pilates
confused.
instructor, you know, so
Well, it's like operations.
she works so hard she has time to moonlight as a Pilates instructor.
Yeah, her lowers didn't match what was going on.
Anyway.
But I do think you could say even she was certainly the one who was like needed to come around to it. Like Izzy was so all in, and Izzy made himself much more vulnerable in that way. But I think you could give Stacey benefit of the doubt and say she was trying and trying and trying, and she really thought that when they, because it's such a nuanced thing of like the difference between saying, do you have any debt and do you have a bad credit score?
Mhm.
Where it's like, I think for a lot of people, like for her, it was obviously like implied, like I don't think she's someone who's ever had a credit score that was below 700. So I don't
Right.
think she necessarily is super capable of empathizing with how that happens, and is probably like, oh, it's a huge deal. You're horrible with money.
Right.
And so when she's having that financial conversation, she assumes it would be like a flashing red sign, like, oh, this needs to be addressed.
I
Trust
also
me.
wonder if she ever has had those conversations before in the past, because as she just dated guys she's just known were financially
Probably, yeah.
Secure.
It sounds like she maybe was dating older, more successful
Yeah.
men who, and also I'm here to tell you, I'm guessing that people with bad credit scores don't care as much about their credit score, right?
Also, the
They're-
bad credit score doesn't make you like a bad, irresponsible person. Like sometimes
Totally.
that happens. Like I mean, I used to have a bad credit score. This was a conversation. I literally had like PTSD watching this. I had this in a relationship that I was in. I had this conversation because he's very financially stable. I was 22 and just had a ton of school loans.
yeah, you miss a
As-
couple payments, and
no,
then
I just had so many school. Yeah,
Oh.
sure. Maybe I did miss a couple payments. I was
But
very
whatever.
whatever. I have great credit now, if anyone's wondering. But we had that conversation, and I was like, "Oh, I never really thought about my credit score." Like he
Well,
was like, "Oh,
that's the
that's not
thing.
something you think about." And I was
Well,
like, "No,
and that's
7 years older."
People in their early 20s don't put much thought into it.
Unless
Totally.
your parents told you
Told
to,
you.
Right.
which is a huge advantage to enter the world with.
Absolutely.
When I was 19 or 20, it was college. We all, me and 4 dudes, lived in a house together, and we
Mhm.
split up like responsibilities of who paid what. Apparently, I got the utilities electric bill, and I was like, would wait to collect the money to pay it. Well, yeah, I got to ding on my fucking credit score.
Yeah, of course you did.
Someone else had the cable bill, which that didn't affect your credit score.
No.
And yeah, it's a lot of it just not knowing or being dumb and not
Right.
being aware. So I get Stacey's side, I get Izzy's side. I
Mhm.
just think, again, if I would have met someone that I was a day away from getting married to, and I truly loved them, and I was so excited, and I found out they had a bad credit score, I would have found a way to get around it.
Yeah.
I at least would have had a conversation, be like, all right, well, let's just understand how we got to where we got. And maybe that got to where we got is like a story of like, I don't know, I was young and stupid. I didn't fucking know. I tell you what, I learned a lot about like how to improve your credit and not. And I'm Johnny on the spot now, and things like that. It's like, okay, yeah, well, we'll get it up,
Yeah, like we'll work on it together. That's what a partnership does.
It's like, yeah.
well, I
Short of you guys being in the market to buy a house tomorrow, like you can work through
which
that
she already
dilemma.
bought a house that needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
So many HVAC repairs.
So I think if Stacey was listening to this episode, she would be offended by my commentary, because she'd be like, "Oh my God, how could you?" I think she doesn't think for a second she played him. I think she believes her own narrative, and I think she would probably even pass a lie detector test that she was all in. But like you look back, and this is not someone who was trying to find ways to make this relationship work. That was Izzy. Stacey was trying, like Milton, Lydia. These were people trying to like figure out how to make it work. And I'm not saying one's right or wrong. I mean, maybe you could argue that Stacey's the most sane out of all of them. I don't know. But she definitely played him,
Well,
in my opinion.
I feel like played is maybe a step too
Now I sound like
far.
Cat.
What?
Now I sound like Cat. Definitely, this is what happened, I think.
Oh my
Maybe.
gosh.
Maybe. That was the best.
Well, oh my God. Okay, well, before we get into that, should we quickly just like JP?
I just honestly
You
feel
guys
bad.
We
Side
both
at the same
decide,
time.
like,
I just feel bad for everyone. I maybe it's just me being the guy. I think JP handled everything wrong. I just feel for him because he clearly is incapable, and he has some emotional limitations that I just sympathize for the guy.
I don't know if I sympathize. I mean, I know I don't sympathize for him, and I wonder.
Everyone's looking at me like, you.
No, I think that that's a good way to look, like another perspective to look at it. I don't see how, I mean, we're human beings and being unattracted to someone is not a bad thing. Where there's so many of us in the world, people are going to be unattracted to people. I just think the way that he handled shutting her out completely and then saying the one thing he decided to say, he couldn't even
Terrible.
say that right. And then he claims that that wasn't what he meant. That was what he meant.
But then he said at the reunion, it was, quote, shocking and off-putting
When he saw her.
And I was like, bro, that's some descriptive language.
Yeah, when they said, like, were you not attracted to her? And that's how he responded. It was like, you should have just said, no, I wasn't.
Also,
it's not a crime to not be attracted to someone.
I didn't take it. I took it as he was attracted to her, hated the makeup thing. And
Really?
That's how I took it.
well,
How could JP not be attracted to Taylor?
I mean,
I mean,
thought
that's the
that was
question.
the
I guess
question.
that's-
I was looking at them like, wait, are
She
we
was
seeing different
stunning at the reunion.
She
Oh
looked
my God.
amazing.
so did Aaliyah. Like,
I mean, yeah, all the women
oh my God,
looked
really stunning.
top notch.
So I guess I just don't see a world in which JP isn't attracted to Taylor. So maybe I'm having like
With his, like,
a cognitive dissonance problem
his
going
American
on there.
flag socks were like in full effect. And it was just like, wait, she was saying she's attracted to him, but he wasn't attracted to her, which I
I thought it was the makeup that he didn't have an issue with, but who knows?
Yeah, I think but it gets into I think you could very much make the case that for attraction, like, sure, there might be ways that someone, like, because there's such a spectrum of how you can present yourself on any given day, how done up you want to be, et cetera, like how experimental, creative. And so I think you can make a case that, like, sure, well, my partner might have a preference towards this. If they are attracted to me, a bit of makeup is not going to shut shit down.
Exactly.
Like, it seemed like he had some really deep internalized judgments about the type of girls who wear makeup and are
yes.
fake in that way.
100%.
Which is, I think, what rubbed so many people the wrong way about
totally.
him. And especially it was like, well, you're not saying anything to redeem yourself. Like, you're not expressing yourself or being super communicative about other things. So that's kind of what we have to go off of. Like that and the fact that you're a walking American flag. So it's like, what do you want us to make of you?
I think I just have sympathy because I think despite all his flaws, of which there are many, I just don't think I think this is a guy who has a genuine interest in being good, whether he is able, like whether he's accomplishing that or not. I just, you know what I'm saying? And I think he's got a bad childhood and he's a flaw. Like, doesn't make any of what he did okay. I just have sympathy for someone who doesn't have the tools or the resources to be the person they say they want to be, but seems to want, you know.
And I think he'd be a huge acts of service guy. Like, I think he'd be the guy where, like, if I was like, my car battery died and I was like trying to wave someone down, I think he would definitely stop.
Yeah, he
wouldn't
not
speak to you, but he would stop.
This is not an emotionally regulated person who was able to talk himself out of like a very challenging situation he found himself in.
I do think this experiment helped him and like maybe taught him some things. Whether he'll be able to use that in the future is we don't know. But even him acknowledging that his song would be Sound of Silence, I was like, well, at least you're aware that you don't speak and that you don't communicate how you're feeling.
No, it was a nightmare to be in a relationship with him.
But he is in one. And like for a year, he said. So I don't know.
Maybe
Clearly, maybe she's quiet too.
And she wears no makeup.
Yeah. Au natural.
I looked at his Instagram, but he's only posted a photo of a dog.
Oh, one more thing before we move on. Johnny and Stacey, again, I thought that Stacey just still acted like a bully, even in the explanation at the reunion.
When she said, you know, Johnny was saying that I was a safe choice, which I find very interesting. I was like, that is the most impressively bitchy delivery of the word very I have ever heard.
Johnny said the best thing throughout at the reunion, which is like, listen, we just clearly are seeing this from two different points of view, which is that's all this is. You're going after the same guy for a period of time in a weird environment. Johnny chose to handle it one way by being open about who she was dating and the feelings she was having. Stacey decided to be more cagey and cryptic. They both had a right to do it, but at some point that came to a head. Johnny seemed to like move on from whatever drama they had in the pods, being like, you know what, whatever. No big deal. Stacey was just like, I fucking hate this bitch to the end of time, and if I get an opportunity to cut her, I will. Like, it was like, it made no fucking sense. Just let the fuck go.
She was so mad still. You could feel the fact that Johnny was having a full conversation with Chris while Stacey was giving this full monologue about it was just so telling to me. Because Johnny has no interest.
They
replayed
replayed the tape, and it was like Stacey like clearly butting into a conversation. She knew what was going on, but acted like, oh, I'm just sitting here because I had nothing to do. It's just like, you just, come on. No one believes this.
No.
Stacey did release an Instagram statement. Would you like to hear?
Yes.
Okay. I have anxiously been waiting in silence to address the context of where my
Silence.
frustration...
Already a victim. God,
Started with I.
The victim mentality of some of these reality TV stars is unbelievable these days. They have all the buzzwords.
Yes, she wanted to address the context
Gaslit.
of where my frustration
Yeah.
and anger comes from
Was she
regarding
gaslit?
John. We'll see. Yeah. There are certain buzzwords where it's like drink every time. During and outside of filming, she bashed me as a person as well as my physical appearance. While in the pods, she told my fellow castmates, quote, Izzy would never be happy with her, end quote. End quote. If that's what he wants, he's going to have bigger problems outside of here. Or Stacey is the safe choice. Or if Izzy chooses Stacey, he's going to be disappointed at reveal because she is not hot. And these are all quotes that she's using. Some of these things were said while I was in the room, and some were said to my friends behind my back, who in turn told me. I never once called her out or attacked her for doing these things because I was focused on my relationship and engagement with Izzy. It's a multi-parter.
Wait. Never once called her out?
She's saying in the
In the
pods.
pods.
She's like, on Tuesday? There was this one specific moment.
I didn't
And in
say
that
anything.
12-minute window, I definitely did not call her out.
Definitely limited. So she now goes on to address the barbecue. At the barbecue, Milton, Johnny, and I were sitting together, and Milton said, "Man, Johnny, I don't remember Stacey from the pods, but we met in Mexico, and she's super cool." Johnny scoffed and replied, "Not memorable, shocking," with a sarcastic tone, making me feel like I shouldn't be a memorable person. I had yet to reply to her in any negative manner, but she crossed my boundaries with that final remark, which is why you see me respond the way I do after she approached me with the deceitful comment. The comment I made about Johnny's face was because I was shocked that someone who was supposedly Lydia's closest friend was acting like she believed Uche's awful accusations about her and finding humor in it. I felt like a betrayal of the friendships I knew were built in the pods, and while my reaction may have been inappropriate, I know I owe it to explain why I felt disturbed by that. It feels very ironic that I'm being portrayed as a bully when in fact the actions of Johnny are very much come across to me as antagonizing, for which I stood up for myself and others against. I strongly encourage anyone feeling attacked or belittled to stand up for themselves. Many of my fellow castmates witnessed all of which I am stating and have encouraged me to speak up. These castmates are, and then she tags them. Izzy Zapata, James Milton, Lav G, which I presume.
Wait, Izzy told her to stand up for herself?
Taylor, Miss Renee. Me, so like she tags several different castmates.
Oof.
Stacey, if you're listening, I got something to say to you.
Oh, God.
Just consider the possibility. Because what Stacey has been able to do in every situation, Stacey is able to see the situation through her eyes, through her own main character storyline,
Mm-hmm.
and she's able to come up with what she believes is to be very justifiable explanations for why she did what she did. And I'm just here to say, Stacey, life is just a lot easier when you just try to do that with the people you're in conflict with.
Mm-hmm.
Try, just assume that whatever you think of Johnny, that she did what she did and she has her own justifiable reasons for doing what she did. And both of you aren't right or wrong. You're just coming from it from your own, I'm the main fucking character.
Mm-hmm.
And Stacey comes across as someone whose whole life was about her, that her whole family was like, you're the main character. We're all here to support you, the main character. And I'm sorry, just Stacey comes across as very much main character syndrome.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing how much she has a very this is why they did this, and this is why I did this, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, I get it, you know, and I know
Right.
you believe it, but like, so does Johnny.
Yeah.
And
Everyone has their own, how they
let
feel
it the
about
fuck
it.
go.
Yeah. Just move on.
Like, you're
It's been a
still
year and a
out
half.
here trying to convince us something that you're not going to convince anyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're just not.
I think Stacey's a perfectionist. And so it seems like this is kind of a manifestation of that perfectionism of being like, wait, no, but
Yeah.
people have an inaccurate view and I'm determined to explain
Right.
myself, as opposed to just walking away and being like, okay,
We're-
some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're talking about it because it's a podcast, but I assure you, Stacey, we won't be when we
Yeah,
get
like,
done.
none of us are thinking about this.
Yeah, and it's just your point of view, you know. And the world's a lot easier when you just stop and think, wait, as right as I think I am, what do they think?
Right.
How do they see it? You know,
Yeah, main
Because
character energy is you're so right. That's exactly what this is.
it's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
I'd also like to point out that on Johnny's Instagram, there's a lot of Taylor Swift lyrics. If you never bleed, you're never going to grow. For her 1 year post, she said, hell was a journey, but it brought me heaven. I feel like that's telling.
Yeah. She's a Swiftie for sure. Yeah,
I
because
trust a
remember
Swiftie.
she used the song, the one for
Yeah. The whiteboard challenge.
her whiteboard challenge.
You're not going to convince anyone, Stacey. You're just not.
We're not here for that.
Let it go. Doesn't matter. No one's going through this world being like, are you team Johnny or are you team Stacey?
I'm pretty sure I'm not having those conversations with anybody
No one's having
except
those.
on
Or
a
Stacey
podcast.
to like tag everyone too, because when we were talking to Izzy, we were like, it is so mean.
Yes.
That's
when
mean.
you say everyone thinks this, like
It's
you,
so mean.
you are shady and everyone thinks so. Like everyone thinks so. It's so unnecessary. It's so cruel. And he was like, yeah, I regret that. And then now for Stacey, a year later, a year after that comment was made,
Tagging people.
yeah,
to be like, here's my proof that everyone agrees. Here's the people who agree.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I just-
Yeah.
I
And
don't-
from her perspective, she's like, no, and I'm so right that I promise I'm going to have other people who can corroborate it. But it just looks like, again, a redo of that kind of like bullying mentality.
I fully believe that Johnny said shit about you that if she said about me would piss me off too.
Sure.
That's not the point.
But Johnny said too, like, I had just come off of that rejection. Like, I said those things. They were not coming from a place of kindness. They were coming from a place
Right.
of
She
like,
did
sadness.
apologize for
yeah,
this. Yeah.
yeah.
Let it go.
She was like, bottom line, I just didn't think you guys were compatible. And like, that's like, she can have that
And
opinion.
clearly she was right.
That's another.
Yeah.
That's another point too. It's just like this show. People are asked for their commentary on other people, and
100%.
Johnny chose to give it, and Stacey was like, "How fucking dare you
Yeah.
talk about me?" at
Meanwhile,
all?"
Stacey didn't say one thing in the pods to anyone about what she was going through, which again is her choice. But it's like, not everybody did that.
But clearly, Stacey has opinions about others, which I'm sure she shares, and she doesn't ever think that she's wronging these people. You know, so it's again just the world's not all about you.
No.
For all you walkers out there living in the city, or maybe just general walkers out there who love a long day out away from your home, you got to check out Vessi. Vessi is like a really incredible, innovating company. They're making waterproof sneakers, essentially. Really comfortable, really stylish shoes that I think should be taking over every major metropolitan city. I mean, we all know what it's like to leave your apartment or leave your hotel especially if you're traveling during the day, and then 8-10 hours later you're walking. I mean, we've all seen those flooding videos in New York. There's nothing worse. Genevieve, you've lived in New York.
Terrible. It's
Terrible.
terrible.
It's absolutely terrible. All of a
Yeah.
sudden you like you walk off a sidewalk and you hit a puddle and then your feet are wet all day. Well, not with Vessi. The Vessi shoes are 100% waterproof, not water resistant, waterproof. So they'll stay dry, and they're stylish and sleek and most importantly comfortable.
I recently was traveling internationally, and boy, do I wish I had Vessi, because when you're traveling, you want to be able to have like a versatile, you never know what's going to come at you one day. One day I was off-roading, but also going out for dinner. And the thing that's so cool about Vessi is not only are they ultra functional and waterproof, but they don't look weird or dorky or bad if you want to wear them out with like jeans and a top. They really are an amazing shoe if you have, whether you have limited closet space, limited suitcase space, they are worth their weight in gold.
If you want to keep your feet dry and comfortable all day long, you got to check out Vessi today. Head to vessi.com/VIALL to get yourself a pair today. Go to vessi.com/VIALL and get 15% off your first order. That's vessi.com/VIALL. Ooh, it's June's Journey. She's back. That's right. Like never before, June is here to help you solve some puzzles, escape your everyday life, and experience the world through the lens of June Parker. That's right. Glamorous culture of the 1920s. We love the 1920s. Scandalous family secrets. Explore and even build your own vivid sceneries. It's fun to solve some puzzles, solve some crimes. Again, you get to build your own little world. It's a nice little break from reality. Everyone loves a good family mystery, especially one with the many twists and turns as June's journey step into the role of June Parker in search for hidden clues to uncover the mysteries of her sister's murder and engage your observation skills to quickly uncover key pieces of information that lead to the chapters of mystery, danger, and romance. Escape to a bygone age of mystery, danger, and romance as you immerse yourself in the world of June Parker's journey. I play wherever. I was traveling at the airport, sitting around. June's journey. So much fun. On a plane, with your friends, doesn't matter. June is always ready to go on a journey with you. Can you crack the case? Well, download June's Journey today for free on iOS and Android. June needs your help, detectives. That's right. Download June's Journey for free today on iOS and Android. Discover your inner detective when you download June's Journey for free today on iOS and Android.
Speaking of wronging people, do we want to jump into the cat situation on Bachelor in Paradise?
Sure. Well, because I think Golden Bachelor, it's like, we'll go. Should we go BIP first, and then we'll close out with Golden? Fine,
Yeah,
sure.
I found that I really need to watch them separately. Like, I understand why they would air them back to back to try to like get the audience to just keep
It's
watching.
so jarring watching them back to back.
Golden Bachelor like ruins Paradise because you're just like, okay, this is like empty and
Yeah.
like stupid.
Stupid, yeah,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
like
yeah.
they're all fake. You're all here for TV.
Right.
I
These
hate you
stupid
all.
little
And like,
children in
call me in
bikinis.
20 years. None of these people know what they're doing.
Right?
Yeah.
And you have exactly the earnestness of the Golden Bachelor. But nevertheless, Kat.
Cat.
Let's get into Kat. What the fuck were you thinking, Kat? I'm gonna just start talking to all these people we talk about because I know they all fucking listen. And then I'm gonna get some sort of fucking DM or whatever. And I don't know. What were you thinking, Kat? If I watched the episode knowing that we were gonna talk about it and thinking to myself, if my goal is to try to give Kat the benefit of the doubt and blame the edit, how could I come up with an argument? And I don't know if I can.
I don't know how.
I think her big point is that there was stuff omitted because she
Sure.
posted an Instagram story.
Yeah.
I feel like, can I read? I feel like one of us
But
should
how
read
does
the
that
questions.
justify her literal temper
But
tantrum?
what she might as well have been stomping her feet on the beach.
She was
I
stomping her
wish-
feet.
Yeah, it was a very unbecoming moment.
She demonstrated some moments, and I hate to say it, that was like, it would be a non-negotiable for me to be like in terms of dating eligibility.
Like a red flag you couldn't look past.
I couldn't look past. Like, this is how you handle like not getting your way.
Yeah,
Not a great look.
Maybe she felt so bad for Brayden like we did that she wanted to give him a redemption arc. She's so selfless.
Maybe.
I love that.
They were making out so fucking hard episode 2 or 3.
Oh, it was insane.
Aggressive.
Like,
yeah.
Like arms
Hungry.
Yeah,
just,
like
like
nails
ripping
in. Yeah.
in each other's skin, throat, like you were doing
What about
in
the
a
throat?
an tongue
What were
down
you gonna
throat,
say?
just like
Yeah.
like when you're literally trying to, can I get my tongue in
Right.
deeper? That was how they looked when they were making out. That wasn't like I'm just gonna like feel it out.
Yeah.
And I say this as someone who knows it's possible because I did it. Like, there is nothing stopping any of these people from having their favorites, sliding into a few DMs, hoping someone's going to show up, showing up to the beach, have that person you hope to be there not being there, and still navigate Paradise without coming across as like you're using anyone.
Yeah.
And all you have to say is, hey, listen, you seem great. I just want to be honest with you. Before I got here, I was really excited about meeting Tanner. And Tanner's not here. I don't know if they're coming because you're supposed to act like you don't fucking know.
Right.
But if you're open to it, I would be open to exploring this because I really like you.
Yeah.
But I just want to be upfront with you that if that person shows up, I want to explore that too.
Right.
And I just want to be honest with you about that. It's not that fucking hard. And if you say it over and over, like they have to use it in the edit.
Yeah. So okay. Well, let's read this Instagram because she claims that she did reach out with him.
This whole statement is the same thing we watched. Anyways, Genevieve, please.
This is
Did I check in with him prior to the date?
Yes.
Yes. I like this. I like this. Okay. Did he tell me he was fine with the situation and then say other things to others?
Yes.
Did I validate his feelings?
Yes.
Did he gaslight me for validating his feelings?
Yes.
Did he have toxic responses when I tried to explain my feelings?
Yes.
Was that very triggering for me?
Yes.
Did they only show the part of the conversation where I finally got frustrated as if it was the whole conversation?
Yes! Oh, Kat. I mean, listen, we just saw a person who looked like in every conflict she's ever been in, she's the victim.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's hard for me
Yes.
to read this statement. I mean, like, gaslighting in reality TV seems to be when a guy says to a woman on a cast, I didn't see it that way. I don't agree with you.
Mhm.
And immediately they're being gaslit or accused of being gaslighting. Like, where is this gaslighting, Kat?
we didn't see any. And again, it could have been
Well, no, what
edited
we saw
out.
was Brayden being legitimately confused
Yeah.
by Kat's response. I don't see how gaslighting happened with Brayden being like, okay, sorry, all right, listen,
Yeah.
we're good. Like,
Yeah,
Kat
he was like, I just don't want to be part of this anymore.
Yeah,
I'm done with this.
he's like, okay, all right.
Like he should be thanking Tanner for coming. Like this is the sign you needed that this wasn't it for you.
And listen, it is entirely possible that Kat had some kind of conversation with Brayden that we didn't get
Of course.
to see. That's definitely possible. But when? and how much?
Well, so let me ask you, do you think immediately she should pull him before she goes on the date?
Yes.
Well,
Is that
it's
the
weird.
thing to do? Because she did kind of like, I mean, you thought that she was going to, and then she didn't. And
I don't think anybody has doing that this season the way they would in past seasons. Like, it felt like in past seasons, they would get asked on the date and they would be like, so-and-so, can I talk to you? Or they would say yes and immediately say, can I talk to you after? Versus this season, because I remember like Will did it. I think Kylie did it,
Right.
where it seems like they just say yes right away. And then if they check in after, it doesn't feel as like linked or in the moment.
right, I keep being like, why don't you say yes? And then like, hey, can you come talk while I get ready? Like, let's have this discussion.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, they just edited two couples out of Love is Blind. So they can
100%.
the power of the edit is significant.
Right.
And I am sure that Kat remembers it differently. But all that aside, just Kat, like your response and behavior and attitude to everyone, like when she pulled Jess and
Yeah.
she was talking to her friend Jess, like Jess was in kindergarten and she was the babysitter. Get over here right now. It's like, what the fuck? I don't understand.
Yeah, and you could tell Jess and Kylie were both like, oh boy, like
Yeah,
here it goes.
Here goes Kat being Kat. It's like, oh my God. Like, is she really like that?
Yeah, and I feel like, because watching Paradise, I was watching with my roommate who was like, I think Kat's so fun before this episode. Was like, I kind of like her personality. And it was like, yeah, she was in Paradise. Yeah, it was too hot. Yeah, she was freaked out by bugs, but she was there, and she might have been kind of like leaning into that and making jokes, but she was down to clown, at least it seemed. And then this was like immediately the side of her that we saw in Zach's season of the second people don't see things the way she sees them. It seems like she feels very entitled to everybody sharing her view on a situation.
Well, I actually agree with her in Zach's season, but now I feel like maybe
But
I was
regardless
wrong.
of like whether you she always agrees with herself, and so sometimes other people might, but even when other people don't, it seems like she has very strong convictions about the way she sees.
Yeah,
the
I guess it
situation.
wasn't so much what she did; it was like her response to it. I didn't have a problem with what she did per se,
Right.
because I don't care about you pulling. I don't care about you pursuing a relationship,
Right.
on The Bachelor, but how you handle it.
Yeah. Well, usually that's the case, right? How you handle something is showing someone's
And
cards much
I'm
more.
sorry, like the fact that again, not that gaslighting. It is a form of abuse. So before you start accusing one of your castmates of abuse and toxic language, as you said, like I'm sorry, like stop throwing around those words to describe a behavior of some guy on a beach so that because you don't like the criticism you're getting from the internet. Like
Right.
that is not right
No,
or
that's
okay.
like attacking someone's character.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Well, it's
That's
a little bit more than attacking someone's
Yeah.
character. You're literally calling them abusive.
Right. Right.
I think it's also telling too that like everyone fucking hated Brayden. Like Sean himself is like, this is the surprise of the century for me that I'm
That
like
we're
comforting,
friends.
that I'm sticking up for him. Like everyone hated him and they're still taking his side in this.
Yeah.
Like Jess and Kylie are your closest friends on the beach and they're like, Kat, what are you doing? You need to stop. You know?
Yeah, if
everyone is against
And meanwhile,
you.
Kat was like, well, I don't want to hear this now. Like from my best friends, doesn't matter. Don't want to hear it. Walk away.
I just don't know what she was thinking. And again, I don't care what you said to him or not. You were all over him.
Mm-hmm.
All over him. Like, again, maybe not the same, but when I was in a somewhat similar situation to her, when I was going on dates, I was like kind of like patting people on the back, being like, hey, buddy, because I just didn't want to be accused of leading anyone on. And the biggest difference is I wasn't afraid to go home.
That is the
The
difference.
cognitive
I mean,
dissonance of these people who are lying to themselves because all they want to do is get to next week. That's
Yeah.
all they want to do. And they don't see the desperation in their actions.
Right.
And then when they get caught, they act like the victims in a situation. Well, everyone else is doing. Paradise is not, for anyone who's going on Paradise in the future, it is not a show for you to like be a fuckboy. There's literally called a show called F-Boy Island.
Yes.
We're talking about with Nikki Glazer on Thursday as well. But that's not the show.
Right.
It's not your chance to be the Bachelor or the Bachelorette. That's not what the show is. It's the same fucking show. Go pick one person and see if it works out. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's it. And if you try to like jump around, you're gonna get fucked.
Yeah. Unless you said, like you said, if they had that conversation, like I was interested in Tanner before. We DM'd. So if he comes, if he comes,
Yeah,
I'm going to go on
But
a
you have
date.
to say it so much that person really knows that they are an option.
Right.
And clearly, Kat did not make Brayden feel like an option.
Right.
She made him feel special and valued.
I don't feel this way. What would you say to someone who made the case of like, but what if that was her really just like trying it out fully, leaning in and knowing, yeah, sure, there might be another opportunity down the line. But for now, like, I really want to give this the best chance I can by like going all in.
No, that is a main character explanation.
Main character energy is the
Right.
theme of this whole episode.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, like, I guess, but did you have their permission to lead them on? You know, kind of, it's like, there's a difference between, because I do think in the real world nowadays, we don't give people the grace to like figure it out and try to date, and we don't allow people to have their feelings change without
Mhm.
being the bad guy or
Totally.
being called a love bomber and shit like that.
Right.
But that's not what was happening here.
No.
She knew the whole time she had something for Tanner. She outed herself during the campfire with
With
the
Hannah.
the Hannah
Yeah.
Brown episode, where she got asked, who would you like to see? And she was like, Tyler. She deliberately said Tanner's name second. She was trying to like bury the lead, so to speak,
Mhm.
Totally. Because when Tyler showed up, she was didn't care.
Didn't care. Whatever.
Was she on her date though when Tyler showed up?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Maybe she might have been.
Didn't
I don't
Tyler
know.
get there first? I can't remember.
I don't think it
It's
really
all mushed
matters. It
together.
was all-
No, it was not about
Because
Tyler.
not only that, but her and Tanner clearly talked. It was so obvious. And it's
Yeah.
fine too. It's totally fine. And Tanner's like, yeah, you were definitely on my radar. And then she's like, yeah. He was like, oh, no, I mean, I was going to ask you, basically. It was like so transparent. And there's just, I just don't know how the edit made it look like she was obsessed with Brayden and all over
Right.
Brayden. And there was just,
But like there wasn't. We saw you guys making out and being so into him. There's no way that it could have faked that.
yeah.
That's not a thing.
You didn't kind of like kiss him and like,
Right. And they like
we-
stretched it out. Like,
we've
no.
all seen women make out with guys they don't want to make out with.
Yeah.
That
You
was
know,
not that.
That was not
That was
that.
not
no.
That just wasn't it. So I'm sorry, Kat. Just say, you know what? I could have handled that situation differently. I was more concerned about my feelings than Brayden.
Mhm.
Reflecting back, I wish I was just a little bit more considerate to his story as much as I was mine. And going forward, I'll learn from that lesson.
Truly.
Instead of accusing him of gaslighting her and toxic responses.
Yeah. Not okay.
That's,
yeah.
No.
It's like, and doubling down like that is just so unbecoming when it's like
Mhm.
you're so unwilling, like you're blaming your friends who are trying to help you and explain stuff and you're attacking them because they're disrupting this like snow globe version of you that you have. And
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
like, it just seems like someone who hasn't navigated a ton of adversity because
Totally.
at the first sign of it, she was very defensive and blaming towards other people instead of wondering whether there was any way she could have accountability or like
Right.
acknowledge her own role.
Yeah. And when you get in a fight with someone in a relationship, you get emotional.
Mm-hmm.
You might raise your voice. You might say something that the other person doesn't agree with or finds to be completely wrong
Mm-hmm.
or inaccurate. That's called a fight
Right.
in a relationship.
Then you
and those
move forward.
happen, and you have to work through those. And like we're no longer, especially when we watch these shows, offer like it's if someone raises their voice to you, or even like says, "No, no,
Disagrees.
that didn't happen."
Yeah.
They're not gaslighting you.
That's not abusive.
That's not abusive.
It's not
They're
toxic.
it's not triggering language. Everything seems to be triggering triggering
Anything
for
that's
Kat.
not a compliment is triggering.
To
Yeah.
Kat. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you did something wrong, Kat. Ah!
Yeah. My feelings were hurt. How dare you?
How dare you? It's like, come on. But
Yeah.
that is Kat's not the only one like this these
No.
days. Like
oh,
that is
absolutely not.
which is again why we like Golden so much, because again, like I said before, these relationships on reality TV isn't about finding love. It's just about winning the fight, winning
Right.
the breakup, winning the eventual the outcome. And it's just like becomes so gross. Also, it is kind of funny how why did Jess get so scot-free? She was shopping around too.
Yeah, she was. And she was hoping she got asked for the date.
Yeah.
And then she was bummed that she didn't.
She's like, Blake, yeah, he's nice and all, but
And she also seemed bummed when she didn't get the date with Tyler.
yeah, she
Yeah,
was bummed.
but I
both
also
times.
don't think Jess. It was funny that Kat was like fighting battles on two fronts, like with her friends and with Brayden.
Yeah.
I do think that the friend one was unjustified. You don't get to get mad at Kat, Jess, because Tanner liked her better. You both would have ditched your men.
Right.
In fact, Jess should be thanking Kat.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Because now she can just, slowly go back into Blake, who's unfortunately for Blake, still comes across as will just like anyone who likes him back.
Oh, sad.
Yeah.
Makes me feel bad.
I really changed my tone because at first I was like, oh my God, surprising, wonderful couple of paradise. They seem happy
Same.
together. And then the body language of this episode is like, ooh, like there's a lot of like silence where he thinks it's a comfortable silence. And she's like, get me out of here immediately.
Yeah.
They just seem bored and they should still already be in the honeymoon phase or like still be in that. Very much so. And they're already bored with each other and it's been 3 days.
Yeah.
They have nothing to say already. Like, that's not a great sign.
Now we know that every time Jess wears a one piece, she's bloated.
Oh my gosh. Why did she say that? Like
Unnecessary
4 times?
information.
I was so confused why she kept saying it. Like, girls wear one pieces. It's not weird.
I'm all for, ladies that, or Natalie, now that I'm in a relationship with her, like, just being a vulnerable queen and
Totally.
just, but like a first date, it's like, okay, thanks. Like,
Also on TV multiple times. Like, I just was very confused.
I don't.
I like
But we are talking about a
overshare
show.
representation. I saw myself.
She's my people's princess. She can do no wrong in my eyes. I love her.
It's
But also,
fine,
I
but I
mean,
just,
yeah.
how are you supposed to respond to that? Like, okay.
Slay queen.
Oh.
Like, cool. Yeah. I don't like
Damn.
milk too. Like, what? I don't.
To be fair, ABC loves to show the overshare because we had such a big storyline about bowel
poop
movements.
baby.
So
I hate it.
I was so uncomfortable. I
hated
could not.
every fucking moment.
Me
of
too.
that.
Fucking bomb clock.
The
they kept showing
turtle,
up?
the turtle they kept
The
cutting to.
producers really should be ashamed of themselves. That is, to me, a reflection on you not doing your job.
Yeah, you must have had no story. There must have been nothing good going on.
I could see how when it was going down, they were like, oh, maybe we should make some light of this. Oh, we can maybe get a little bit of drama out of it. They way too far, way too much.
20 minutes. I mean, and
so
like a
long.
fucking
Cliffhanger.
about poop. Listen, like there are some people in this world who love a good fucking poop joke. Most people aren't them.
No,
And,
a
like-
lot of the people watching this show, that's not what they're there to watch. Like, that's not who you're targeting.
Yeah, and I didn't need you're not a supportive king by calling it your poop baby.
I do think Aaron was supportive
I liked
in the
that.
I liked that he brought her like he was like
Yeah.
poop platter.
Again,
Sure.
I liked that he was supportive, of course, because I like a supportive guy. I just don't need to hear him talking about like delivering
No, absolutely
her
not.
shit.
Absolutely not.
I don't need the visual of
Yeah.
her just, and
Everyone
him
needs to
and
go
her
to
just be
YouTube
like, one more
immediately.
push.
Yeah,
Like,
I
don't.
no, that could have been a 2-minute segment of him bringing her food because she's
Oh.
having stomach problems. Fine.
And not her going to Wells for like what the fuck?
Wells was like, and poor guy had to do a confessional about it. I was like, are you kidding that we're getting Wells' opinion on a confessional? Like,
how
this is insane.
how they film the show is one thing because all they're there when they're filming the show is just to record everything.
Of course.
They're not there to cherry pick what they think is important or not important. Their job is just to accumulate information
Mhm.
and then let the storytellers in post figure out what they should prioritize or not. So but when they got to post, they clearly were like, well, I don't know. We have fucking 2 hours to fill and I guess we just have poop.
Yeah.
Like I just don't give a shit. Like I guarantee she's not the first person who had irregular bowels in paradise
Right.
because like chances are when you go
When you travel, things get a little funky.
Right. And you're eating that food and you're drinking maybe more than you usually are.
your body's in literal shock.
Yeah.
Your diet's off, your stress levels are off, you're in a different environment. Like she's not the first person that'll be a little backed up.
Something that I found was like kind of or like that I feel like was more justifiable of being aired than a lot of that stuff was when she was like, I took a stool softener and it kicked in during the rose
Yeah, that was
ceremony.
funny. That was
I was
funny.
like, oh God. Like everybody has been there where like you are waiting for some kind of something and then it happens at the least.
Yeah.
And
If that's all we got, I would have laughed and we
Same.
moved on. But it
Totally.
was like the
No.
the fucking turtle.
The cutting to the turtle was making me, I've never cringed more. And that's saying a lot watching Bachelor Paradise.
I feel like PETA should maybe intervene. That felt like it was really violating
It's
to that
really
turtle.
inappropriate. And I feel bad for her because I really do like her and this is her main storyline.
yeah.
Like, what?
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's also like 10 days is a long time, and that's not really a joke, that we're all making it a joke. And like, you would literally have to go to the hospital.
I can just hear the producers now, her being like, should we do this? And they're being like, don't worry, we're not even going to use this shit. Guaranteed.
She's like, all right, I'll lean into
All
it.
right, fine, whatever. And they made a whole fucking episode
And a cliffhanger.
about it and the cliffhanger.
Stay tuned next week to see what happens.
Do we feel bad for Will or got what he deserved?
I feel a little
I'm Team
bad.
Olivia.
Also, why is what's
She's
his
loving
name
this.
not Team Olivia?
What?
Fucking
Pete?
yeah, poop delivery guy.
Oh, Aaron.
Oh, Aaron.
They sort of soundbite of basically him being like, fuck Olivia.
I don't
you guys-
don't remember that.
Am I crazy? Am I the only one who saw that? Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's because Olivia's hanging out with Pete. He fucking hates Pete.
Wait, he hates Pete.
And now I think he must hate Olivia
By
or something.
proxy,
By
yeah.
proxy? I don't know.
Well, then
It's
he's
just
biased. Can't.
Olivia also
She's
just
the
has
best TV on the show.
I feel like Olivia is like if they put a fan of the show on the beach.
100%.
Like, I mean, we haven't seen anything of her and Peter. Like, it doesn't feel like she's pursuing a
She's
romantic
just
relationship.
commenting.
She's just like pursuing drama. And she's like in the confessionals, like giving us the rundown of everything.
It's like she's an undercover journalist,
Yes.
like live
Yes.
from the scene.
She's one of us.
Yes,
It's amazing
I
to
love
see
it.
our representation there.
Yes. And she's like, I will do anything to see Will go down. I don't care. I will do anything.
Because I kind of forgot about his heartbreak.
Same.
And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, damn.
He did grab her face and,
And
try to
she's
make out
there.
with her.
She's there to still remind
Try to blame
everyone.
it on her toes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was cringe.
Come on, dude.
Although
I do
I-
feel for Will though.
A little bit.
This is a little.
He's a
this
good looking
sucks.
tall guy. And like, they're really.
Yeah, he's a
he is-
cutie.
He is definitely getting optioned.
And I don't think Mercedes overpromised. Like, I think she was comforting in a way that he genuinely really appreciated. And it was a bummer when it didn't turn into like them both growing a romantic connection. But
Yeah.
I don't think I think she was being authentically kind without leading him on too much.
Right.
I will say, hearing, like, I would be kind of pissed watching it back and hearing Mercedes and Tyler talk about how they have like their best friends, like with Kylie and Avon. And like, that seemed really next level. Like, not only are they in the DMs, like they are in
They're
like
planning.
Yes,
They're,
totally.
they're planning
yeah.
double dates.
Yeah, like that's not
Actively.
great.
A vacation together. Like, they have a couple vacation booked for after this.
Yeah. Now they're leaving Paradise
they
and
already
getting.
booked the flights.
Yeah, they're going
From
immediately after Paradise to celebrate. It's like
Straight to Cabo. Like,
their little honeymoon. Yeah.
I was really hopeful for Rachel and Tyler, though.
me too.
Is anyone
I
else wanting that?
was.
Ugh.
I was really hoping for
I
it.
Because
think
we
Rachel's-
had Gabby on the other week, and we don't know anything, but Gabby had mentioned on the show like that she was kind of like ready to be done with Sean, and that made me think like that Rachel probably doesn't date him the entire time, because if she did, Gabby might have said something along the lines of like, oh, I think he's nice. I think he's like showed a different side to himself
Yeah.
on the beach.
I feel
So-
like we don't even see Sean. We literally have seen him like twice. I feel like they never show him and Rachel. They show him commenting, but they never
Yes.
show their relationship. So
Yeah, and then the caption for him is like, should be worrying about his own
Yeah.
relationship. It's like, oh, should we? I mean, we haven't seen any of it.
Yeah,
right.
what
But
relationship?
clearly
showing?
Rachel was very interested in Tyler when he came. Like she was
Yeah.
clearly hoping he picked her.
I think Rachel's too good for any of these men and shouldn't waste her time.
But Tyler?
But Tyler's so
But-
sweet.
Tyler's so sweet.
Is he the so sweet that we were talking about earlier? That's like quiet and
I've never
just-
met him. I'm sure he's fine. Here, actually, you know why I think the way I do? I think, especially nowadays, I think this show and this franchise and the landscape of social media and reality TV and 223 basically is a honey trap for jobless fuckboys who think they are going to be able to make careers in this space post filming. And all that turns out to be is a bunch of like bar hopping fuckboys who are jobless without money and don't know what to do and spend the next year and a half like floating on a handful of deals here or there they get for bar appearances, but generally have no real purpose in life, don't know what they're doing. And it's just not the same landscape for the women in the same space. It's just not, like you can make, for the most part, and everything's different. You can make a career as a woman in this space with the audience that they have.
Mhm.
And I think Rachel's on a different level than all of these men.
Mhm.
And I think for her to try to date any of these men outside of the show would be met with a bunch of frustration with her excelling at life and these men using her to get to where they want to be.
I can see that. I don't know if I feel like Tyler falls into a little bit of a different
How so?
bucket than the rest of them. I think from what we saw
You just
on
think he's handsome.
Of course, I think he's
He's so
handsome. I mean,
handsome.
I'm not blind. Of course, he's handsome. But everyone on the beach is good looking. I mean, it's not like they cast ugly people. Let's be honest. So, I don't know.
Who?
Oh,
Don't say it.
you're like actually
who's
don't.
not your type on the beach?
I mean, I didn't say Tyler's my type, but I'm just saying he's an attractive man.
Anyway, you were
Super.
talking about Tyler.
I think he has a bit more maturity than many of the men that we see. And that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't know him. He might not.
Keep watching.
Oh, okay.
I don't read spoilers and I don't talk to enough
don't-
people in this world.
I don't read
so-
spoilers either.
Well, of course, but you have friends in this world that you talk to about it.
I don't think he's a bad. I just think I think he's just a guy who's
Yeah.
floated around on his pretty face.
It is a
And-
pretty face.
It does say online, Tyler owns a small business in New Jersey on the boardwalk. The store is called Spirit Ball, but it's a bit mysterious what he actually sells. So it seems like
See,
It's
that
like
was-
next to the shore store that the Jersey Shore kids worked at. Like
Yeah.
next door.
a Google search of the store name returns nothing. That's obviously Tyler's store.
So he's unemployed. Is what you're saying.
No, man, all these guys always reach out to me and they're like asking for like, how do I do what you did type of thing, and they all hate the advice I give them. And
Which is what?
I usually give them advice about protecting their mental health,
Hmm.
and they don't want to hear any of that.
Of course.
And as far as like how do they get to be where I want, it's always something about like playing the long game, don't burn bridges, and like figuring out what you're passionate about and grinding it out, which they
Mhm.
don't like hearing any of that.
They want the quick solution.
They want like
like
a
do this.
five
the one
steps.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
to, they want me to be like, oh no, I have like an agent and a manager who are perfect for you.
Right.
That's
It is what they want.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
And they don't want to hear me being like, hey, I grinded for 3 fucking years before like I felt like any real momentum.
Yeah.
So good luck. And also me like saying like, well, listen, like I had an advantage of being the bachelor, which in this world matters. And I'm not saying that but like just consider what you're up against.
Hmm.
And I also tell them there's a lot of luck. And
Yeah, they don't want to hear that
they
at
don't
all.
want to hear that. And then I tell them about like the things I had to grind through, and they don't want to hear that. And they kind of talk over me. And they tell me about like, well, Reddit said this, and I'm like, well, there's your first problem.
Yeah. Get off the internet, first of all.
And I'm just Tyler's no different.
Mm. All right.
And
Okay.
again, Rachel is, as a former bachelorette, I think any of these guys would pull her down, not bring her up.
Yeah.
She is literally above them in terms of her opportunities in her career.
Hmm.
And unless she is just over the moon in love with their souls,
Right.
I think it would be a waste of her time.
Do you feel like it was silly for her to go on Paradise?
No, I think it was amazing for her
Yeah.
to go on. And I think Paradise is fun. Like it's the only bachelor experience I had where it was just like fun. It
Mhm.
was like chill. And being someone who had to share the spotlight on The Bachelorette, I totally get why she wanted to come on. But I just hope she gets TV time,
Yeah.
and I hope it's a way, like I don't need her to find love
Right.
here.
Yeah.
It's not for her to find love.
Hmm.
They'd have to bring in a ringer, and there are no ringers here.
No.
Is my 2 cents on that.
I mean, speaking of bringing in a ringer, should we get to Golden Bachelor?
Yeah.
Gary continues.
We saved the best for last.
Oh,
I don't know if this is going to land.
Boy, it's a great way to
What a
preface
start.
something.
This is a compliment. He has such a big bird energy.
Oh.
That's so endearing and so like everything's okay, like, and the words he uses is so sweet, but it's like as if Big Bird is talking to one of the kids on Sesame
Hmm.
Street.
Yeah, it is endearing.
Yeah.
Not to jump ahead, but when Joan tells him she's leaving, he goes, "Oh, that makes me sad because I was so happy this morning. I got up and started
Dancing.
dancing."
I know.
What?
Ugh.
Oh, that was
my
so
heart.
sweet.
but then he was so mature,
So
and
mature.
was able to like manage his And he even said it. He was like, "I've processed my emotions, even though it was disappointing. Like
Yeah.
I'm ready to move." Like you just
Well, and that's where the maturity comes through that we don't see in usual seasons. It's
Totally.
that mature, that like he's actually been through this. He's been through loss. He's been through life and a lot of like things that don't work out for him and knows how to react to them as an adult.
Yeah. How have you been enjoying this season? I think everybody can agree that like Gary is just like the biggest charmer, sweetheart in the world.
Mhm.
This, and I think so many of the women seem spectacular. This was the first episode where we got any kind of like drama. How have
Yeah.
you been?
I don't
liking
love the
that.
drama. I mean, I'm into this Askin group. I think it's a fun group, and I think their tagline was so cute. But I feel like this is shining. Like Golden Bachelor is being is become so beloved because it doesn't have the silliness of the drama, and it doesn't have
like pettiness,
catty girl fights or guy fights or jealousy, things like that. Of course that's happening, but to me that was like, ugh, I don't love this.
I don't mind it because I don't think that's why people love it.
Really?
I think people love it for the sincerity.
Yeah.
Again, you have a cast of people who, if they know Instagram, they're just not here for the gram. They're not here for the attention.
Yeah.
These are people who are at a point in their life. Who left Joan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's her quote? I mean, what a quote.
When you're older, you become invisible.
Yes.
That quote.
Yes. Can you read the whole thing?
Maybe my heart got a little fixed from Jerry. He's helped with the journey because as you get older, you become more invisible. People don't see you anymore.
Like you're not as significant when you're young.
Yeah.
I was like, first of all,
What a
Joan,
profound
you are
statement.
fucking stunning, and I feel like it,
But like, let's just before we gas Joan up, let's just give her. Let's just recognize what she had to say before we dismiss it by you know what I'm saying?
I'm not dismissing it. I'm saying it's like, I think people might have the delusion that like somebody who is so beautiful, like might be immune to this kind of treatment. So I think it's even more powerful hearing it from this person who is clearly being so vulnerable and honest.
Because the world doesn't talk enough about getting older, like 50s, 60s, 70s. And the world does dismiss you.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you for granted. It rolls its eyes at you. It tells you you're out of touch. You're not, the cool up and coming person. And over time, I mean, boy, when hearing her say that, it's just really, that is what makes this show so good.
Yeah.
That's what makes it good, is like you see this exhilaration from all these moments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think someone said that too. Like, I feel so exhilarated, and that exhilaration comes through in all these moments. And it's an appreciation for a happy moment or a good time or something exciting and fun. And I think that's what it's like, people appreciating little heartfelt moments, having appreciation for a group date, having appreciation for a one-on-one date, having appreciation for making a friend, appreciation for making a connection. And we don't live in a time where we're appreciating shit.
Yeah.
It is all about the scandal or the drama of it all. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now you have a bunch of people just showing that there's good in the world. Not to sound cheesy, but that there is something that we can look forward to and appreciate and happiness. And the world just needs a little bit of uplift like that.
Yeah. And
the Golden Bachelor is giving it to us.
100%. I have to give producers a little bit of credit there too, because they aren't cutting around stuff. They aren't cutting around. I mean, maybe they are that we're not seeing even more, but they're showing some of those really heartfelt moments in these conversations like Joan's. It wasn't cut off. It wasn't turned into drama and her leaving and being so dramatic. They're like, oh, we have these people who are really, really putting themselves out there and taking them away from their really important things in their life. This is the second person who's like, hey, my kid needs me. I got to go. This is real life. The
inner struggle of I am doing something for the first time and maybe I don't know how many years for me. And yet I still have to be a mom, and the importance of being a mom that was to her and how meaningful it was. And that struggle was beautiful in a way that I hope she still gets to prioritize herself at times. But we, especially with our parents, I think, and again, in 2023, I see it with my younger siblings. I think there's this attitude with the younger generation of that their parents' only purpose in life is them.
100%.
That their parents' only reason for existing is to take them to soccer fucking practice or sign them up for some class or whatever, or give them a million hugs. And if they don't, it's like their parents fucked up. They have trauma and they have to go to therapy to, overcome what their parents did wrong for them. And listen, there's a lot of bad parents out there. It's hard to be a parent and parents make mistakes. But again, it's just it was so beautiful to see how much love Joan had for her kids and just the struggle that people have as they get later in life to have to choose between serving themselves and giving themselves quality time and their kids. My parents sacrificed their whole fucking lives for their kids.
Yeah.
And I still have ungrateful siblings,
Yeah, no, 100%. My dad's my best friend. And I feel like I hope people get this from the show. Something I do is my friends make fun of me for it because I have hour-long conversations with my dad almost daily. We talk on the phone. And I feel like during those conversations, we talk about so many real things in the world that my niece and nephew even have this thought like, well, we can't have real conversations with them. They're old. Like
Yeah.
they don't know. I'm like, they know better than most of us. Like they've lived a whole life and they put
The
everything on.
perspective.
Yeah, their perspective is so clear. I will say, I feel like the silver lining to the pandemic, I got stuck up in Syracuse with my parents for the first time as an adult living at home for 4 months. And I was like, I got to know my parents as people rather than just parents, my dad and my stepmom. And I was like, oh, they're really, really good people who I don't think I realize until you spend that kind of time. And this is the show that kind of shows that these really, really good people who have been through it, who have this life experience that you need to, I mean, that really helps if you're looking for real love on TV.
You told us before we started recording that you had conversations with Rob Mills, the head of Unscripted of ABC, about coming on The Golden Bachelor as a suitor.
I highly considered it, I will say. I think with my job, it wouldn't work. It was a definite conversation that I had with him because I've been unlucky in love for a while and am a relationship junkie. So I'm like, maybe that's the time. I'm attracted to older men. I think he's a little bit older than I would want to go because he's my dad's age. And I think that's a little bit creepy in that world. But yeah, I mean, I considered it for a minute. I'm not going to lie.
I wanted them to bring on a younger ringer.
It would have been so hated though, because it would have looked like the girl who was, it would have been the girl who's like, this girl is on here to become Instagram famous,
Yeah. And having seen the show, I'm glad they didn't do it.
I'm very glad.
You would have, people have been like, they would have just hated you just cause.
Just because immediately hated.
Like,
I'd immediately been the villain. Like, no.
Like one of the ladies was like, my husband died. And you're just like, I don't get my favorite snack today.
I'm like, I need this now. No. It definitely is a good thing. I don't think I could do reality TV anyways, but it was a conversation. I mean, I was like, Rob, maybe I should do this. This is it.
Who is the lovely golden lady who was starting all the drama? What's her name again?
Kathy and Teresa.
Teresa and Kathy were the two that were going.
But Kathy's 100% wrong, right?
Kathy was offended that Teresa was telling her how great her relationship was. Or her
I know,
relationship with Bachelor was. But
I think Kathy is
she's just jealous.
100% wrong. Not even 99.
I don't know about 100%. I can see why she is a little bit frustrated by that. But I think maybe just telling Teresa about it is better.
Necessarily Teresa's fault.
No, 100. Yeah, I guess. But I think we see this every season, no matter what, of the one girl who feels really confident and then who's like bragging about it. But I don't think Teresa feels that she was bragging. I think she was just like, I'm just talking about my day.
Yeah, someone who maybe went on the first date in 20 years and is excited and she thinks she's making friends and she's telling her friends, these people don't know how to date the same guy. And I love how they like called it out. Like, hey, I think we're finally realizing we're dating the same guy. You show up for the first date, it's all fun and games. No one knows the lead. No one knows each other. It's summer camp. Things move fast in this world, as they often do. People start going on dates. On these dates, you make some significant connections and you want to talk about it. And you don't think you're being rude at all. And like, where was Teresa bragging? She was like, oh, I had a really nice time and it was really sweet. And like,
I mean, they bonded over being losing their partners. It's like, that wasn't bragging.
Kathy's like, shut the fuck up.
I think Kathy was doing some really clear projecting when she said, Teresa's looking at me like, I have a connection. I'm better than you. Like that. I could totally see Teresa maybe like sharing some details that Kathy's like, this, please don't. Like, this is not like, I would rather not hear this. Kathy was very willing to kind of interpret Teresa's behavior in very like steadfast ways that
she decided what Kathy's intentions were.
Kathy decided what Teresa's intentions were.
And then told Teresa about it. And then when Teresa was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. Kathy's like, shut the fuck up. You're not going to get away with it. Don't cry. You know you did.
But then
holy shit.
Even when Gary came in to comfort her in the bedroom and she was like, he was so nice. He came into the bedroom. Kathy was pissed. She said the bedroom. She was pissed that she brought it up.
Although I saw a little bit of annoyance on Gary's face.
Yeah.
For like having to deal with
100%
the drama.
I was going to ask you about that because I feel like that every season we see that with like the lead being like, this is a little annoying. Is it annoying?
Oh my God, it's the worst. Because they're like, hey, so-and-so's crying upstairs. Go do something. And you're like, the fuck am I going to do? I don't know these people.
No.
And like, you're there just to mediate.
I want to see Gary get a little annoyed. Are we ever going to see Gary get mad?
I do think they're going to raise the stakes.
I think we're going to see him distraught.
Definitely distraught.
I'm curious if like anger is a flavor.
I sat down with him for an interview and I was very much like, I can't imagine this man even getting a temper. Like, I can imagine him getting upset easily. We've seen him get, emotional multiple times, but a temper, I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing. These people are all just people. Unlike Love is Blind, that is willing to show warts and all for everyone, The Bachelor notoriously has its heroes and its villains.
Mhm.
And Gary is an incredible first Golden Bachelor who plays the role beautifully. He really is. But he's also a human being.
Right.
Like, there's no way Gary's walking this earth only
Of
showing this energy
course.
100% of the time.
course.
Because if he was, we would think there's actually something wrong with him.
Right.
But he's doing a great job playing this role, and I'm sure he is capable of having a bad day. and
Totally.
And being frustrated to the point where he says, "Oh my God, I lost my temper. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And shit like that. But
I hope we see it. I like to see a whole person. Like, I like to see someone who can be like, oh, this is another side of me. I'm a little frustrated.
I hope to see it too, but I unfortunately don't think our audience is gonna just reality. It's so black and white these days.
Yeah.
There's just no nuance. Everyone wants to pick a team.
Mhm.
Everyone wants to side with who they relate to the most, or who they like the most, or see themselves in, or see their exes in.
Yeah.
And because that's the thing with Kat, the Kat and the whole like Brayden. I mean, you know what the truth is? The only right response is, it's just not that serious, Kat.
Right.
It's just not that serious. You don't need to make a public statement like criticizing some other guy. But Kat goes on a show, then she goes and reads her own press on Reddit, and she's seeing all these criticisms about her. So she feels like the whole world's talking about her, and she needs to go on her Instagram and make a smaller story even bigger, because that's what happens when you talk about your own fucking story on your platform. You just elevate it.
Yeah.
A story that you don't want anyone talking about.
But you're posting about
But
it.
you're
to further
posting
it.
about it. You just make it the story.
Mhm.
And the real answer is, it's just not that serious. It's a fucking reality TV show about like fucking dating and feelings.
Right.
But
then on Golden Bachelor, it's like in Joan's case, it's like this shows like, this is real life and this is serious, and like this may not be that serious, but like my kid is, so I need to go home to that. That's why I feel like there's also
that was great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's another reason why the Golden Bachelor has been doing better in the ratings, has been doing, overall, people are enjoying it more because
There's
it's
a
real
freshness
people.
to it.
Yeah.
I've cried in every episode.
Me too.
While trying not to cry.
Yeah.
Like, this is not me.
You just really connect to people. I think it's so much easier to connect to people, which is interesting because they're all much older than I am, but I feel like there's a connection there much more than I do on like Paradise.
It's real. There's sincerity. It's like, I don't believe anyone in Bachelor in Paradise.
It
I don't
seems
think
like there's
anyone's
actual
there for
stakes.
love.
Yeah.
It seems like there's stakes on Golden Bachelor. Like these people, it does seem like for the first time in a while that like we have seen for so long that it seems like the contestants are looking for fame a bit more than a connection. And this actually looks like, no, I want partnership. Most of these people probably don't care about social media.
No, like Joan leaves and she's like, I'm disappointed that this ended early, but I feel like this showed me that like I can find love and
Yes.
I can have like a second chapter at this. Whereas like if you leave like The Bachelor or Bachelor in Paradise, it's like, oh, maybe I got like 1,000 followers out of this, like they're not.
Well, it's true, because when you get older, the world tells you what you're not supposed to do anymore.
Mm.
You're not supposed to dress like that. You're not supposed to act like that. You're supposed to do X. You're supposed to do Z. You're supposed to just shut up and raise your kids. Or
You're not supposed to date.
You're not supposed to date. You're supposed to like age gracefully and all this shit, like whatever that means.
Yeah.
And it's like, in a way, you see all these people who have subscribed to that mentality of just like, having their family, raising their kids, and then like dying quietly.
Right.
And here you have these people, like, what I know about getting older is like, you never feel old, which is why when people always call in and they're like 24 years old, and I'm like, I know you don't feel this, but you're young.
Right.
Because you're not. I remember my dad when I was a kid telling me like, he was probably younger than me where I was at the time, being like, I feel this, like when I look in the mirror, I still like I'm the kid in high school,
right,
type of thing. It's like, yeah, you have more memories, you have more lived experiences, but you're not like, you don't really see yourself differently.
No.
And I don't remember I remember not really understanding what he was trying to say at the time.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's so funny. I was in a relationship all my 20s. So I'm 33 now. So it's been 3 years single. And I feel like the exact same. Like I'm like, oh, I'm still in my 20s. Like I'm still in my 20s. And then, I go on the apps to try to date, which is unsuccessful. And I'm like, oh no, this is a different time of my life. Like become very aware of it very quickly.
Yeah, but almost like too much. You judge yourself more.
Totally.
You tell yourself what you criticize yourself for being adventurous or getting out of your comfort zone. And yeah, like it seems like these women who have gone on, if nothing else, it'll be them giving themselves permission to continue to like get out there, take more risks, have some fun, seek out that exhilaration that they're finding in this scenario, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's just so
Joan could
awesome.
totally be the first Golden Bachelorette.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
I would so be here for that.
Yeah.
And I really liked that she wasn't like super confident during the challenge, that she like got up and said a poem and was like not fully sure if she could do it, and it just like seemed so
found her own way.
Yes. So I feel like that's my push for Golden
Joan.
Bachelorette.
Okay, I like it. I have no problem with that. We just got to find the men.
That's the rough thing, right? I think it might be tougher the other way.
Yeah, I would imagine it'd be tougher to find 30 Garys.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I also think if they wanted to, they would.
Yeah.
And also, like, this show saved the franchise.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I mean,
It was very necessary.
prior to the ratings that they're getting on Golden Bachelor, it was just a bunch of executives making excuses that people just watch different TV differently and just being like, no one watches it on network television. But clearly,
That's not the case.
you've seen the bump with the success that they're having with Golden Bachelor.
Mhm.
Do you think there's a world where the main show is Golden Bachelor and everything else falls on the wayside?
I don't think that is a world we're in yet. I don't think they're ready to throw in, like, maybe they age up the regular Bachelor.
Do you think Golden Bachelor will help? Who's the new Bachelor?
Joey.
Joey.
No. I think it might hurt because I think people are going to, at the end of Golden Bachelor, turn on Joey and be like, nope.
That's true.
But you know who's going to be
It's almost too much success.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, oh my God, best cameo ever when Gary comes back to
Yes,
visit
to
people
host
give
a
advice
date.
to Joey.
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, that's going to be so much better.
I
'cause
hope they do that.
they definitely should.
I gotta.
Yeah. And Gary's so game to do stuff. I don't know if you guys saw, he went around to a bunch of retirement homes and surprised people.
Did he?
And ABC did a 200 retirement home screenings of an episode around the country. And I went to one in Sherman Oaks, and he came and surprised the women. And it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. His interactions with them, it was just so sincere, so normal. Like, the women were so happy. It was the sweetest thing I've ever seen.
That's
There was a
great.
92-year-old woman who lost her husband 2 years before, and they were married for 75 years. And she was like, I want to date Gary. And it was the cutest thing ever. It was so adorable.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting how it might affect Joey's season.
Yeah, I think people might not want to watch the cattiness of women after seeing the mature women on this season.
It's not the cattiness for me. It's the insincerity of everyone.
Yeah.
But doesn't the emphasis on petty drama over, like, I'm sure people say some really beautiful, profound things in confessionals that just never makes it to air
Right.
because it's like considered boring as opposed to like the tea.
No, I don't.
So
I
maybe
think if
it'll
they're
be
saying profound things, they would air it. I think you're unfortunate. Yeah, I think you're giving
I feel like
the
they've
overall cast the
really
benefit of the doubt.
they've deprioritized love stories though in the past.
I really don't. I don't think they have deprioritized. I think that's what they're working with. Bad groceries.
Well, do you think they're casting the wrong people then?
That maybe too.
Right.
You know, I
Because they're
think
so young.
So young. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe they age up the normal Bachelor, where they
Like-
don't cast 22-year-old women looking for love.
Because it felt
well,
like
it's
they
not
were
only
like,
that, but their best bachelors, and Joey is not much different. Is like they love a bachelor, with the exception of, I guess, me, who like their storyline is more of a lack of experience, a lack of past relationships, a
Mhm.
lack of adversity in their dating life. Other than like, yeah, I kind of dated around and whatever. All of these women and Gary, you don't have to be 70
Right.
to be able to come into one of these shows with some life lessons, with some heartbreak, with some a few years of being like, yeah, I really saw love differently than I see it now, and I've done some work on myself, and I'm here to really like give love a shot. You don't need to be 70 to do that. You can be 28,
Yeah.
yeah, like
31,
Susie, I
32.
feel like is a really good example of that.
Yeah.
Of someone who's really substantive, really like who
Yeah.
you just really root for
Right.
naturally.
But I don't think it's because the show doesn't care about love that you're not seeing it. I just think it's harder for them to find because I think they're just casting a bunch of people who want to be famous.
Yeah. They want to be influencers.
Yeah, and coupled that with the fact that the people they are prioritizing are on the younger side of things.
Mhm.
That how can you expect these people to give any shits about anything else other than being influencers.
Right. Like 22-year-olds, I'm sorry, but don't have a ton of life experience
like,
yet. Like they haven't.
I would only care about influencing if I were
Right.
giving a chance to go on this show.
Yeah, they haven't been through major heartbreak. Most people at 22 have not experienced like a
Yeah.
really gut
So I
wrenching
agree
heartbreak.
with you that their fault is in the casting.
Yeah.
It's not that once they get to set, they're not caring about love. I think it's the people they're choosing to cast on this show. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Emily, so much fun.
Thanks for having me.
You'll have to come back.
I will be back.
Any final thoughts before we wrap? Anyone? Okay, all right, great.
Still thinking about Tyler's mysterious business.
Weird.
What is it called? Balls and stuff?
Solar
balls?
No, not balls.
Solar balls?
Solar, spiritual, something.
Spirit ball. Weird.
I'll have to make a trip to New Jersey next time I'm home.
Yeah.
Emily, where can people find you?
I'm at Emily Longeretta on all platforms and covering all sorts of TV for Variety.
Spell your last name for our audience.
Ooh, just how it sounds. It's LONGERETTA.
All right, well, follow Emily. She puts out some great stuff, all things pop culture, along with Elizabeth. You can read that. Just go to variety.com as well. Always great commentary from them. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget, we have episode 2 of Izzy dropping this Thursday. We also have the one and only Nikki Glazer with us on Thursday to kick off the episode. Talk about F-Boy Island, which is kicking off. We got Katie, who's one of the leads for that. Nikki's with us. We'll also, I'm sure, get into Taylor Swift with Nikki as well as other pop culture topics. And then, again, Thursday's Going Deeper is with Izzy to talk about all the aftermath of Love is Blind, kind of get into the weeds with what happened with him and Stacey afterwards. Well, you can decide for yourself whether he was played or not. You also find out what Izzy's credit score was. It was low.
Telling the people what they want to know.
It was low. It needed some work, you know.
Well.
It was, in fairness to Stacey, an alarming number.
Okay.
But not one with that. Still, nevertheless, I would have.
You can work through it if you want to.
Yeah, you could work through it. You can get it back up
if you really want to.
If you really want to. So that's on Thursday. We got Black China / Angela White next week Going Deeper. So much for you on the Viall Files. So excited to bring it to you all. Don't forget to send in those questions at asknick@theviallfiles.com for all things texting, office hours, Going Deeper, mediation, or sweating the wedding. Not Going Deeper. You know what I mean.
You're crazy.
Okay, bye. Hey guys, if you loved what you listened to, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.